Okay, I think I'm streaming. Let me just double check here. Testing 1 2 testing. Testing 1 2 testing. Testing 1. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Now how do I'm going to see if I can put this onto Twitter. Oh my god, I already have... Is there 13 people already watching? Oh no, Riff's here. I'm on the spotlight. Damn. Riff, you're giving me an anxiety already. I'm sorry, Riff. I'm not good at math. All right, well, I'll give some time for people to join. It's not exactly 8 o'clock yet, so. All right. Let me see. Is there a way to? Again, I never use Twitch. I've always used Periscope, which is just simple and it just dumps it into Twitter. But apparently, people always are like, "Why do you use Periscope? Use Twitch. Everybody uses Twitch." And I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to use Twitch tonight and see. But Twitch just seems so overwhelming. There's so much stuff in Twitch. I have no idea what any of it is. I just want to live stream. I just want to make sure that people can see what I'm doing. That's all I want to do. Oh, they're going to get rid of Periscope? I love Periscope because it shows up right at the top of the Twitter feed when you're live streaming. It's so just simple. And I come over to Twitch and it's just like, what is all this stuff? I don't even know. But okay. Let me see here. Let me see if is there a way I can just put a little tweet from here, a share. Okay, we got Twitter. I'm on another screen here. Off to the side, so you're only seeing my one display where I'll be doing all the work. On the other side I have my browser and stuff, so Coopertom shows it. Okay, yeah, I'll just tweet that. Why not? That works. Okay. Yeah, we're right on the dot. It's almost 8 o'clock. Okay, let me go back to Twitch. Okay, cool. Okay, will there be an archive of this stream up later? Maybe. I'm recording it. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll stick it on the YouTube or something. I just barely have touched Twitch, so there probably is a way to save it on Twitch. I have no idea. But I'm just gonna VOD. I don't even know what is VOD. I have no idea what VOD is, but I guess it's the video or something. I don't know. Well, I'm just recording it too, so just in case something happens, I don't know. I can stick it somewhere and put it onto video on demand. That's what that's called. Man. Video on demand. That sounds like, man, that's like pay-per-view. Remember pay-per-view? We had to call a telephone number when you wanted to see a certain video. Imagine if it was like that still. Jesus. Okay. Well, let's see. It's 7:59. Oh my god. The numbers are going up. I got 41 people in here now. Ooh. Okay. Wow. Okay. It is 8 o'clock. Let's see. We'll start right on the dot here, because again, when I'm live streaming anything, I'm always feeling like, oh, I don't want to take up people's time. I don't want to waste people's time with stuff, because even like when I make videos, they're just very quick, and here's the information, boom, you're done. I don't want to tie up people's time. But with this, I've had a lot of people asking, you know, how do you do this? How do you make these things? And honestly, it's kind of mind-boggling, because I was in the same boat when I wanted to make a VRChat world, and I started playing around with VRChat back in, oh god, 2017, when it just came out. It was maybe like 6 months old when I started messing with VRChat, and the idea of making a VRChat world seemed so far out there that it was just beyond my scope of anything. I mean, I work with computers, I work in IT and stuff, and like, but as far as 3D modeling and things, I never considered myself a 3D modeler at all. So the idea of being able to do this was totally mind-blowing to me. And if you just break it down into these digestible chunks of information, we can do this. So also that too, I am not a 3D modeler. Well, I mean, I'll say I'm a 3D hobbyist, because what I'm going to show you is what works for me and how I can make worlds. Is it the industry standard or the workflows? I have no idea if this is the right way to do it or not. So there's probably somebody out there, oh, you got to do this and this and that and the other thing. I don't know. This is what I learned. I started doing this in the end of March, early April, where I made the Cursed Birthday world in VRChat, and I basically just poked around, pulled information out of YouTube and Googled, and so this is how I make 3D worlds. Is it right? I don't know, but it works. So I'll show you how to do it. So we're gonna do this as a blank slate. Say like you don't have anything installed, nothing installed. So the first thing to do is you have to make sure that you have the right version of Unity. Now there's newer versions and everything, but with VRChat there's a very specific version of Unity that you need. So we can go right to VRChat, and it will tell you in the documentation where to get the right version. Let me see here. Yeah, currently supported Unity version. So right here, the current Unity version used by VRChat is Unity 2018.4.20F1. You can go download it from here. I think the best way to do it is you go right here, click Install Unity Hub. Now, it's like a little program that will install Unity for you. I'm not going to do it because it's already on my computer and everything, but you can choose your Unity, or download Unity Hub, and from there just select and make sure that you get the right version of Unity. So right here you can see that so if you do all that, you get Unity installed, and it's free because it'll ask you what do you want to do with it, if you're like a developer or designer or an engineer or something like that. But you can select hobbyist, and hobbyist is just you want to make things for fun. It's not like a business or anything, and it's totally free, so you don't have to pay for anything. And once you get Unity installed, you'll have this. Okay, and it's gonna take a couple of minutes. Well, again, this isn't a YouTube video where people can skip and fast forward and speed the process up. So this might be an hour and a half. It could be 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't know. Hopefully not 3 hours. Oh God, that'd be insane. So in here, there's all my projects. So we're gonna do a new project, and we're just gonna call this VRC demo world. Okay, and this template, everything is pretty ready to go, and just the location where you want to save it, and you create your project. Now this is gonna churn away for a while. Also, I apologize if my microphone has a hiss or something to it. I don't know. It's really like you can hear my computer whirring, or if you hear something, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm also not playing any music or anything because I have no idea what the copyright stuff's going on. So if you want to play some nice music over this, I give you the opportunity to play whatever music you'd like. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, my mic sounds good. Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay. Cat noises. Also, I really appreciate everyone. There's already 74 people in here. I really appreciate you taking your time tonight to go through this, and hopefully this will help you out. And I'll be really excited to see what everyone makes if this can get you started. All right, it's gonna always say, hey, there's a new version, but screw it, we don't need the new version. All right, we need this good old-fashioned 2018 420 fucking whatever it is. All right, so we got the 420 F1 personal edition. Okay, this is your blank slate. You got nothing going on here. You got a main camera and a directional light, and basically the directional light is the sun. And I won't touch that till the end, so we'll leave the sun alone. Now, you can't really do anything just yet with this. We do have to do some housekeeping on this. So the first thing I always like to do is to get the SDK from VRChat. Now, again, the word SDK sounds kind of scary and stuff if you're not really, that tech savvy, and but it's just basically a little package of files that you can get from VRChat. So let me just go back to VRChat here, and we'll get the SDK. Oh, I'm gonna move this off to the side just to log in real quick. I don't think you'll see anything. Who knows? Okay. Don't save. Okay. So I logged into VRChat, and if you go down to the downloads button, it'll give you two options. It'll give you VRChat SDK 2 and VRChat SDK 3. SDK 3 is you have to use that if you're going to be doing avatars, uploading avatars, and newer style worlds that have particle emissions and all this other stuff. And honestly, I have just barely touched the surface of Udon and SDK 3. So I'm not really, anything that I've made with SDK 3, I'm not really using it to its full potential yet because I have no idea. It's just another whole layer of stuff to work with. So I think the best thing to do is to make a basic world. Say you want to make a room with pictures or something and some furniture and some lights, and so have a place for you and your friends to hang out. You don't need any fancy fireworks and light shows. SDK 2 will be totally fine. So we'll just download SDK 2 and we'll save it. There we go. Okay, so let me go open containment folder. Let's see where that is. Okay, so here you can see we have the SDK 2. Now what we want to do is, I usually just like to have wherever I'm putting things. Now we have to put things into Unity, and the easiest way I found is if you have any files or anything or textures. We'll get into textures and things in a little bit, but whenever you want to get something into Unity, the best way I've had it is have a separate window open and just take it and drag it. So we'll go back to the project here and my download. So we just take the SDK that we just downloaded and we just dump it right in here. Now here it's gonna say, okay, what do you want to import in this package that we just placed in here? And you just take everything, just leave it the way it is, and hit import. So now this is gonna take maybe a minute or 2 minutes. It's gonna chug away here, and we'll see what it does. Okay, so basically what the SDK is, it installs the necessary items so you can connect to the VRChat server and upload your work. So you already see here as it's doing it, we added, there's a new thing up here that says VRChat SDK. So up in here, we'll be able to open up a control panel that will allow us to log into VRChat using Unity, and you can test and upload, and it'll fix a whole bunch of things. Because there's a lot of other checks and balances that will the VRChat SDK will check against your model and will automatically fix it, which is really nice because there's certain things like with mesh colliders and meshes and all this other stuff, but you don't have to worry about any of it. Basically, you make what you want, and then you will open up the VRChat SDK, and it will just check everything and say, "Hey, this is weird. You want to fix it?" Yeah. So we'll see that in a little bit too. Riff Raccoon made a ball earlier. Well, I did not make a ball for a long time. Everything I made was cubes, so kudos for starting to make a ball right away. Okay. So now we have the SDK. We have the file, the blank Unity file. Now there's two tools or packages. Now these are the most important things that I personally use to make worlds. Like, so the big thing is you go up to Window and you go to Package Manager, and in here are these packages. Which in the packages are basically just built-in programs that come with Unity, where basically you can add to Unity. So where is it? So here we have ProBuilder. Because basically without these tools, you're working with a blank slate with no gizmos or nothing to help you build things. So like say right now, I want to start making something, and I go to Game Object and 3D Object and Cube. And we got a cube, but it's tricky to work with. Like you really can't gauge the scale, and it's just this blank thing, and it's very manual way of working with it, and it's just a pain. And this, when I started doing this without these packages and I saw this, I started getting pretty discouraged because it was like, oh my god, this is going to take me forever to make anything. It just felt so tedious and time consuming. So with these packages, it just streamlines and makes things a million times easier. So everything that I do, there's these two packages that I'm going to show you that is going to help. So the first one is ProBuilder. Now what ProBuilder is going to do is it's going to it will help you create basic shapes. Like instead of going to Game Object and selecting it, and there'll be a separate window for ProBuilder, and it will just say make new shape. What shape do you want to make? You want to make a cube, a sphere, a cone, whatever. And when you make these shapes, there's a texture already applied to the shape that has units of measurement on it that's going to help you gauge the scale of the world, how big things are. It's beautiful. Like I use ProBuilder and everything. If you've been to my worlds and you poke around, you'll probably find some ProBuilder texture that I forgot to change, because as you're done building, you're going to have to eventually replace all the ProBuilder textures with the textures that you want and the materials that you want. And if you forget or you miss something, you'll see a ProBuilder texture. And like if you go to any VRChat world, you'll see, if you dig deep enough, you'll probably find a ProBuilder texture sticking out somewhere. So okay, so now we have ProBuilder installed, and now the next important package, it doesn't show up right away in the packages, and I always tell people about this and they're like, oh, I couldn't find it. It's called a preview package. I guess preview is like a beta, or it's not fully set up yet, but it works perfect. I don't know why it's preview, but you have to go up to advanced and preview, and then if you look for ProGrids. Now ProGrids is really good because this allows you to snap things like on the grid, because without ProGrids, everything is just, you can slide and move, and you'll be spending all day trying to get objects butted up against other objects to to eliminate gaps like in walls and floors, because my first two worlds that I made, I didn't make it with ProGrids. I was making these walls and floors and then typing in decimal points to make sure that the two pieces are touching and not, you know, interlapping, and it was just a nightmare. So ProGrids and ProBuilder are the two essential tools that I use to make VRChat worlds. So now those two things are installed, and now if you go up to tools, you can see we have ProGrids and ProBuilder. ProGrids automatically adds this toolbar on the side, which is really nice because now you can tell the system, okay, I want you to snap everything within a 0.02, I guess that's centimeters. Everything in this is also metric. A 1, as far as a unit of measurement, I believe is like a meter. So this is like 0.2, so that's like a 2 centimeters or something like that. So it's really nice. So now that we have ProGrids and ProBuilder installed, we'll open the ProBuilder window. And now instead of going here to game object and hunting down, you got this window that is so nice and simple. You go create new shape, you just click it, it gives you a cube, just like the cube that we saw earlier. But what's really nice with this cube is it has units of measurement on it and a texture that kind of makes sense, so you're not like guessing at things. So now we're gonna check this out. So the movement of the camera of your way you're working is, I like it. It's completely different from Blender, because I go into Blender and Blender frustrates me because I'm so used to Unity now. So if you hold down the right mouse button, you get the eyeball, and it's just like a video game. It's got, you use your A, W, S, D buttons, and you can just walk around and zoom and look at everything you want to do as long as you're holding down the right mouse button. And the wheel on the mouse just zooms in and out. It makes perfect sense. I absolutely love this, and it drives me up the wall when I get into Blender, and none of this works like this. It just drives me nuts. So that's how you'll move around. So anytime you want to move or look, you just hold down the right mouse button and AWSD to get around. So you can see on here, now we have a cube with this prototype texture. Now this is from ProBuilder. And it's really nice because this is actually, right here, it says 1 meter. So we got 1 meter, and there we go. Oh, what the hell's going on here? One second. Where's that? Where's Telegram? Telegram, you're chewing my ear off, Telegram. Where are you? Okay. Sorry, Telegram people. I love talking, but I had to shut off Telegram. Okay. So we get this cube, and right here you can see it gives us the unit of measurement, 1 meter. It's perfect, and you have these little increments, so you can do quarters and thirds and everything. It's beautiful. So now, when I first started working with this, I'm like, well, how do you make the shape that you want? How do you make it big? How do you make it wide and all this other stuff? So what I was doing before, up here in the corner is scale, the X, Y, X, Y, and Z. I was literally scaling things to get to shape that I wanted with the slider, or manually, typing in the number. But what you notice here, if you scale objects, you see how the texture gets stretched. You don't really want to scale things. I don't know how, I heard somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, but if you scale objects, it actually hurts the optimization of the world because it's affecting the way textures are being moved and stretched. It's not good. So I try to refrain from scaling things, but unfortunately, this is how I made stuff the first time. I was taking a cube and just scaling it in and out, and you don't want to do that. So with these buttons up here, these 4 buttons up here allow you to modify the shape that you're working in. So any shape that you're working in, you can see that's highlighted here, and you get this orange nice glow around it, and you go, that's the piece that you're working on. And so here is object selection, and this will make you, with the X, Y, and Z axis, you can slide this the whole object any direction that you want. Okay, this button is the vertices button, where you can select just a corner instead of the whole object. You can select a corner and go, okay, I want to move this up or down or whatever. You can also, if you hold down Shift, you can select multiple vertices like these three here and then move those up or down. So you can do some fancy stuff with that. This is the edge selection tool, where you can take an edge and move it in or out. So if you want to make ramps or some type of slope, like a roof on a house or something, you can slide that. But this one I use the most. This is the face selection tool. This is where you can make your walls, you can make your floors, you can make all this other stuff like that. So we'll start by making the floor. And usually I like to keep the floor around, yeah, like, I see, again, I'm using the ProBuilder measurement mark. So see, there's these little double marks. So we'll just do like that. So I think that's about 1.01 thickness or whatever. So that'll be the floor. Now, to make the thing bigger, there's two ways of doing this. We can take the face, just like how we squished this down, we can drag this out. And you see how now the texture isn't getting stretched. We're not scaling it. We're actually we're extruding the shape. So we can keep going and say, okay, we want, the floor to be 8 meters, let's say 10 meters, like a nice cube or something like that. I think that's 10 meters. I don't know. I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so boom, that's 10 meters wide. And then we want to go 10 meters deep, so we click the other face, and make sure it's yellow, and we're still on the face selection tool, and we just drag it out that way. Another 10 meters. And let's do 20 meters. So we make a giant hall, some type of hall. I want to make a party, like a conference room, almost like a convention hall, like the conference rooms. We'll make something like that. All right, so we have now this floor that's 0.01 thick, and it's 10 meters by 20 meters wide. Now, there's also another method of the face selection tool. So what we did is we just stretched this, so this is all one giant face. What we can do is, if you still have the edge, say this edge is selected, and you hold down Shift and then you drag, you notice that we got this black line here. So now these are two separate faces, but it's still the same object. This is still the floor, but we have two faces here. And what's really nice with this is, now we can take this face and hold Shift and drag this way, and now we can make our walls. So we're already roughing out the shape of the room. Now, again, with scale, we don't know, well, how tall should the room be? How big, what I like to use, I don't know if it's my own personal little measurement stick. It's located in VRChat examples, not prefabs, what am I doing? I meant examples. And they have this tutorial avatar. Now, I know it's crazy, but I use this blue man for everything. So I basically just drag and drop him. Oh, never mind. Hold on. Make sure this is selected. So the tutorial, so I take the man and I drag and drop him. Sometimes things when you drag and drop him in, they don't want to show up. So right now he's buried in the ground. You just go up to the position here. So if there's anything you want to actually move, you know exactly where you want it to put it. You can just put the X, Y, and Z locations. And so it's going to do 0, 0, 0. And that should put him all the way over here. So this is the point. This is the 0, 0. This is the center of the world. Also, it's a good idea to try to keep this area open, because this is where you want people to spawn into the world. So if you want to make a world, keep 000 or get close to it as your spawn location for when people are coming in, and I'll show you where, we'll get to that too. Okay, so you get them close to the floor as possible. And again, this is also with ProGrids, so it's moving him in 0.02 increments, which helps with snapping on the floor and things like that. Okay. So now I use this man to gauge how tall the walls should be. Okay. Also, I use this to make doors and windows and desks and counters, and I just use this blue man to get an idea of like, oh, this is roughly how big a countertop will be, or a storefront or something like that. So we can go back with the edge selection, the face selection tool, go in and drag this up. So, you know, an average height for a ceiling would be probably like that, like 2.5 or something, but we're going to make like a party hall or something like that. So, all right, we'll do that. So we've got a wall now that is it's got 4 meters high. Okay. Now, there's also different ways of making the walls and the floor. It's all, I guess it's, I don't know, again, I'm not a 3D modeler, so I don't know the full extent of the workflow and the proper way of doing this, because you can go ahead and make the entire walls and floor one object by keep dragging and extruding the pieces, or if you're more comfortable, you can say, all right, I just want to make a floor and then just make a wall. So let's just say, oh, you know what? I'll do the roof differently. I'll just show you this for now. So we'll make that wall. We'll do the same thing over here with the edge select, with the face selection tool. Still hold down Shift and drag and get like with the measurement something roughly the same thickness as the other wall. Then select this face, hold Shift, and on the Y-axis drag up and just bring that up to match the other wall. And there we go. So now these are all lined up. Also too, when we get to making another object, a good rule of thumb is to always try to get these lines to mark up, and I'll show you that in a minute when I make the other piece. Also, I like to keep things kind of neat and clean. I'll just go here, like, see we got this weird corner sticking over here. I'll just take this face and then drag it out. Either one, it doesn't matter which one, as long as it, and then drag it out to the other wall. And take this face, Shift, drag it up to match that. And again, this is all working, lining up perfectly, because we're using ProGrids. If I turn ProGrids off, like I just turned this off, that's not a good example. Let's say ProGrids. Let's close ProGrids. I want to show you. See, now this is infinitely variable. So if you weren't using ProGrids, you'd have to sit there and go, that looks about right. It's a pain in the ass trying to line things up manually without ProGrids. And so just please save yourself a world of headache. Get ProGrids from the package manager under the preview and turn that on, because now look, it just go boom, 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 boom. It snaps right there. Perfect. Okay, so now we'll just do this over here on this same one. Select the face. Also, this little tool here will always be in the center of whatever the object is, so it gets kind of disorienting when you, especially when you work with really long objects and you're trying to see. I don't know if there's probably another way to do it, but I don't know. So again, Shift, drag, get a rough shape, a rough size of the same thickness as the other walls. Okay, and we're going to take that and again select the face, make sure that's still selected, shift drag, and up we go, and we make the other wall. Okay, let me see if I got there. Did I get it? No, I'm off by a little bit, so you always gotta double check. There we go. Look at that corner. That corner makes sense. Good, good, good. And again, moving all around, you'll be having your finger on that right mouse button a lot. I'm constantly right clicking and WASDing all over this place when you're making stuff, and you'll get used to it. It just becomes like second nature. Okay, select the face, shift, drag it out, line up that corner, select the other face, shift, drag, and up we go. There we go. So now we got this nice corner. Now there's also, with these faces, where you can, if you click on a face and then you hold shift, you can click multiple faces, which is useful. Maybe we'll use it later on. Like, so if I wanted to make these two pieces go out, you can drag them out that way too. So it's the same thing with, like I showed you with the vertices and the edge selection, where you can select multiple vertices or multiple edges. You can also do this with the face selection tool. You can select multiple faces. So like if you have a lot of pieces that you want to extrude in one direction, you can click multiple faces. So it works that way. Also Control Z does that. So if you screw something up and you're like, oh no, Control Z. I'm using that a lot too. A lot of Control Z, a lot of Control Zing, a lot of WSADing, all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, so we got that. We got the wall. I'm going to leave this open. We'll do something with that in a minute. All right, so now, I mean, what I could do is I can just take this edge and do the same thing, hold shift, extrude it up a little bit, and then extrude it across. But who knows, things change. Maybe you don't want this, because if you look at this, if I go back to the object selection, if I click it, this is all one big chunk, and this can run into a problem sometimes, especially if you're doing like interior multiple rooms or something. It's like you're working on a design and you're like, oh, I just want to move this wall. Well, guess what? You can't move it because this is all one piece now. It's stuck as that one shape. You can modify the faces, you can do all sorts of stuff, but it's hard to just say I want to take this wall and shove it this way because it's connected. You can't. So sometimes there's other ways. You don't have to make it like we just did, where we're extruding everything out of one cube like this. But this doesn't really matter because I'm considering this the outside exterior walls of this room. Now also that too, I'm not going into, we're going to make a terrain with woods and outdoors. This is strictly an indoor space, a room inside. So we're not going to be worrying about the outside. Maybe I'll do another video about outside terrain editing and things like that. But for now, we're just sticking with the inside. And with this shape, this is fine. I don't need to make any adjustments. But say I want to add another wall and not have to worry about this. So we just go right here to the ProBuilder window and just do another shape. It gives us another cube. Now we can do this. We can just take this shape, drop it down. And again, with ProGrids, it's not going to give us much trouble to line up. See how it just goes, you can see it clipping through the floor. You just give it a little nudge up. There we go. Now it's on the, we can tell this is exactly on the floor. Okay. And we're just going to move this out. Okay. And just make sure that this edge lines up with that edge. Is that close? No, we're off by 0.02. There we go. Now that's on the edge. Now what I was mentioning earlier with the textures, making sure that this lines up. So if I start to go back to the face selection tool and click this and then drag it, not, so I can extrude the wall this direction, you can see that these aren't lining up. Now this could be a problem when it comes to adding the textures or materials. So say there's a tile or some type of pattern that's on the floor or on a wall, and you want to make sure that this tile pattern lines up with the other objects. If you're off like this, you're going to see it. So whenever you're making a shape, always make sure that these lines are lined up. So when you go to start texturing things, everything matches up, especially when there's a pattern involved. It's good to keep those lined up. Okay, so we're going to just make this our other wall. So see, now generally it's not the same piece. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could make each individual wall its own piece. So here we go. We're going to just stick that there. And we're going to make this the other side, bring that out. See, now it's really thick. It doesn't matter because we'll shrink it down in a second. And you see how everything is just lining up. Now, this part, you can see that's not lining up. Now, that would be a problem if we were going to make a texture on this side, but it doesn't. It's all right. It doesn't really matter if it's on that side. I actually know what I can't. Even though we're not going to see it. Actually, no, I'm right, because this is not lining up with that. So what we have to, because I based it off this floor. See, again, it's always important to make sure that these things are lining up. So if we click this down, there we go. So that's lining up with that, and that looks like it's lining up with this. Yeah, we're good. And again, this is a completely separate object, but it's going to look exactly like all the other corners in a room when we get done with it, even though it's a completely separate object. All right, we're going to click the face, shift, drag up. And, oops, see, we're a little off. Go up, up, up. There we go. Lined up perfect. That corner looks good. Wall's too fat. All right. Oh, see, look what I did. I made these two faces. So Control Z, boom, boom, boom. It's going to go, you can go back pretty far. There we go. Select the face. Do not shift. There we go. So now this is all one face. And are we lined up? Now we're too high. See, this is the stuff that takes time, where you have to just make sure everything is lined up and looks good. Because if you're off a little bit and you're off a little bit, it doesn't look like a big deal. But as you keep building on top of what you're building, it just snowballs, and you'll be working on something, and something will be so out of whack, and if you go to try to fix it, it's going to be a nightmare to fix it. So it's always good to make sure everything's nice and neat all the time. Okay, so there we go. So we got the separate wall. Even though it's now, if we go back to the object selection tool, we have this wall and this wall. Doesn't matter. You can make all the walls separate. You can make them all together. But in the end of the day, if you look at it inside, it looks exactly the same. You couldn't even tell. You know, I think it's all just a matter of preference on how you want to make something, or how much you want to make, how you want to keep things as free as possible for editing things later on. So, all right. I'm going to leave the roof off for now because it's going to make things kind of tricky if you keep turning it on and off and things like that. So, let me see here. All right, one other thing I just came across too, another housekeeping thing is the lighting. If you go to Window, Rendering, Lighting Settings, I don't know why it's like this, but by default, these settings are controlling how the computer is going to render the lighting. There's a whole thing, we'll talk about this earlier on, but by default, when you open up a new Unity project, lighting is set to auto-generate. And uncheck this, because what that means, if it's automatically set to auto-generate, every time you add an object into the wall, into this project, and you're moving things around, it's telling the computer, render the lighting, figure out what the lighting is going to be, and it slows everything down. It's like, don't worry. It basically, unchecking it is fine. So you can move your things, you can do your edits, and then tell the computer, okay, once you're done, you can render everything. But for some reason, auto-generate it's set on, and it's a horrible default setting. So that's another little housekeeping thing. Okay, so now we got the floor, we got the walls. Now it doesn't look like much. You need, you need to have some type of design or some type of depth to the walls and things, or some type of columns or beams or something. So we can start off by, let's just make a baseboard, a basic molding on the floor, just to break it up, because it looks, in the real life, walls don't look like this. You need something. So we'll make another object here. Again, everything's cubes. Everything's cubes. Most of the time, 90% of this stuff is cubes, and just dragging and copying things. So we're going to get this up against the wall. Okay. And again, this is with this object select tool, so we're moving the whole thing and not just a face. Because I've done this too, where I'd want to move, like, if I have this face selection tool and I'm like, all right, I want to move the cube down, and it's like, oh, you don't want to do that. So, always have the object selection tool. And, there we go. That's on the floor. And we're going to slide this all the way to the end. And we'll see, there, see how it's clipping? All right, there we go. So now we know that thing is right in the corner of the room. We're going to go back to face selection tool, and we're just going to squish it down to a little shape that we think's roughly the size of molding. Look at that. Yeah, that line. Now this particular thing, it's such a small item, where I was saying, oh, you have to make sure that the textures line up. Depending on what it is, and if you know it's its own thing, it doesn't have to, the texture, if you know the texture isn't going to be the same texture with the rest of the world, you're not going to have to worry, because this molding is going to be a completely different color from the floor to the walls. So if it doesn't line up, it's not the end of the world. All right. We're going to do the thickness. We'll do, yeah, like that. All right. Now, generally, when I make molding, I like to start in the corner. And now, if you can see why I do this, it's because we're going to use this as the thickness and the height. So we're going to extrude. We're going to leave this little piece here and extrude. There we go. So now we got a piece of molding, and we're just going to zip this. Now, I'm not holding shift. I'm just clicking on it with the face selection tool and zipping it across. Now, this is really a nice trick when if something looks really plain or bland or something, it just put like a lip or an edge on something. It just breaks it up a little bit. Okay, so now we can see that's the edge. So if we just scooch it back a little bit and then hold shift and then scooch it back out, now we got another, holding shift, it gives us another face. And now we can take that face, hold shift, and then zip it across the back here. And again, I was trying to figure out how to make molding before I came across ProGrids and ProBuilder. I was literally making a cube, a very long cube, and trying to get it in the corner of a box, and it just took me forever, and it was just a mess. And without these tools, it would be a mess. All right, so now we're at the edge. Same thing. Scooch it back twice, which means it's 0.04 centimeters thickness. All right, and then hold shift, scooch it back in. There we go. Got a new face. Hold shift, zip it out, go all the way down till you get to the other corner. As soon as we get stuff with this done and we have some cool objects in the world, we'll start texturing and things will start looking really cool. Right now, everything's this dull meter stuff, but trust me, it'll look cool. All right, 2 back. I do this too. I kind of count the clicks. I'm like, all right, 2 clicks in, shift, 2 clicks out. I'm not even worrying about measurements and meters or centimeters. I'm just like, how many times does it click in or out or zip? My own terminology here. All right, click the face, shift, drag. Okay. You know what? Yeah, that's fine. Oh, you know what? I just came up with an idea. I wanted to show you how to make doors and windows. And again, this is coming up against the problem where I just made this all one piece. And this wall is separate from this wall, so I could, this is its own object, so I could use this object to make something. But the problem is, this is all one object, so it's going to be in the way. So I'm going to do some trickery here before I finish this. I'm going to just back out of this, get that back to where it was. Go back in the corner. Go back. There we go. Okay. We got the molding in the corner again. I'm just going to take this whole piece and flip it around. So we have an open-ended piece on this side, so if we can make some doors, the molding's not going to be in the way. All right, so also this is generally a good, nice housekeeping thing too, is if you go over to your hierarchy here, just to name things would make sense. So molding, is that how you spell molding? I don't even know. All right, so that's our molding. Now if I just do up here on the rotation, the y-axis is the up and down axis. If I do 180 degrees, it's all the way out in left field. Don't want to do that. There is, I think, center or local, global, local, pivot. I don't know. The center. I think that's the center. Oh, wait. I can just do this. Okay. Also, with this tool, you see when you have the object selection tool and you have these arrows, there's also hotkeys to change what this does. Because right now, with all these buttons, you're basically dragging and moving along the Y, the X, and the Z axis. If we change this with the hotkey, so R, you have these cubes. When you hit the R key, you get cubes. Now this is scaling. By moving these or dragging this cube in or out, like if you drag this cube, it's going to scale all three axes. If you drag individual ones, it will just do those axes. And basically, this is acting like if you went over to here and you were typing in the axis. But see, I want to rotate this. So if you do T, no, what am I doing? Typing in the axis here. Okay. So R is scale. T will give you, there we go. Is it T? No. I'm confusing myself now. Okay. Y gives you the opportunity to rotate. And then you can rotate it, along the axis on these spheres. So this gave me a rough area. So I can go up in this corner and go negative 180 degrees. And in theory, it's not close. It's all right. We're just going to go back to the scale button here, W, and then we're just going to drag it over. See, it's always, you go run into something and you'll be able to fix it. All right, so we got this. Getting sidetracked here with this molding. See, this is also what happens too. You start working on something and you start fixating on something, and it's like, oh, I spent 5 hours on this piece of molding that no one's going to give a crap about. That's the magic of Unity. All right, so we're just going to make sure this bumps back up there. Okay, so when everything is back in the corners, molding is on the completely opposite side with the open-ended piece. So now we can make changes to that if we wanted to. Okay, so we got the molding, we got that. Let's go and make a door or something. We'll make like a balcony or something out here. I don't know. All right, we're going to go here on the face selection tool, and we're going to go back and say, okay, this wall's too big. We can drag it back. See, again, this is what I'm talking about when you're making big pieces and you want to make small changes. Sometimes it's not always the best way to make everything out of one piece. It's always nice to make little pieces that are separate, because then you can drag and move and do all these different changes that you'd like to do. All right, so we'll put a... So I'm looking at this now. I want like an opening in the middle here. So to keep this symmetrical, we'll say, okay, we got 3 meters in, 3 meters in, whatever's in the middle, that'll be a door. So that'll be like 4 meters across. Okay. So we'll go back here, drag this back to 3 meters, not using shift, just clicking the arrows. Okay. Click this face. Now, to make a door, we want to make it a piece go over across in the top. So we can't do that by selecting this face, because if we just drag this, the whole piece is going to go. So we're going to have to push this back down. Okay. And we'll make it like a big door, a big grandiose door. Okay, so it'll be 3 meters tall. That's how big I want my door. All right. And now if I hold shift and drag up, and then bring it back up. Now we have the 2 faces, so that gives us the little header above the door now. Oops, see, I screwed up. I clicked the face instead of dragging the wrong face. Control Z. There we go. All right. Just click up, drag up to make sure it's lined up. And now we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Click on this face. Now hold shift, because if you don't hold shift, see what happens? It's moving this whole piece. We just want this to protrude out, so it has to make a new face. So we hold shift, and it keeps this all back here. And we're going to go 4 meters across. Okay. Now we need to make the wall that goes down. The same thing, we're just going to have to mimic what this is. So we're going to have to hold shift, drag, make a new face, bring that out to the end. Okay. And then go from underneath. So again, right click, WASD, zipping around, always zipping around with the right mouse button held down. My mouse is gonna, I've been going through batteries on my mouse like crazy with Unity. Okay. Now we're gonna hold shift, drag down, and boom. Oh, a little too long. There we go, right on the edge. So now we got this door, so we can go into our lavish hall here. Okay. Now we can finish our molding. This was the whole point. So here's the other face that we left, and we can just go shift, drag, and bam, there we go. So we got the edge of the molding lined up with that. And same thing over here, we got another face. Just shift, drag, boom. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, I still have 77 people watching. Wow, not boring you to death, am I? Again, thank you so much for sticking in here. We're almost an hour in here, and basically we made a shoebox with a hole in it, right? Isn't this exciting? No, when we start to get texturing things and getting to lighting, it's gonna get really, really cool. All right, so again, we need stuff. We need things to break up this box. We don't want people looking at just boxes. So we'll make some columns and some things and stuff like that, which will be a good example of what we can make in ProBuilder with the scaling and all this other stuff. So let's make some columns. We'll make some square columns. Keep it simple. Cubes, cylinders get a little involved because there's more vertices and things. We can work with square columns. Again, make a shape. And oh, look, it's down on the floor. All right, go to Object Selection Tool, and we're just going to drag it up, get it in roughly into where we want to work, and we'll get this on the floor. Get this down on the floor. Oh, too far. Okay, there we go. All right, we'll keep it as a 1 meter base just to keep things simple here. All right, we're gonna select the face, push it down, and we'll make that like the base of the column. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want the thing to step in a little bit, like a lip. So now what we can do is, again, with those shortcut keys, with the scaling and the rotating, if we do R, we hit the, just type R, then now the arrow keys are the cubes, which is scaling. So we can scale like this and scale in. You see how it's like actually tapering the face. So instead of moving the face, now we're scaling the face, which also alters these other faces. But say we don't want this tapered, we want it to step in. So we hold shift like when we were making a new face with the walls and everything. So when you hold shift and you scale, it leaves everything in place. So hold shift and then we scale in. Now you see it's like almost like a border, like a picture frame. Nothing has changed, but it's given us a face on the inside. So now we have this new face. And again, we're on the scaling mode. We have to go back. Click, just type W, and it will give you your scaling. So now if we move this face, it's still tapering, but it's not tapering this old, the original face. It's got a new piece here. But again, let's say we don't want that taper. We don't want this flanged piece. We want like a step. So the same thing, like extruding the wall. If we hold shift and then drag up, see now everything lays flat. So we have this little border around here. All right, so let's go up, I don't know, we'll go up a meter. So now again with the ProBuilder texture, everything is still kind of mapped out. So the height of this, I think, is still exactly a meter to a meter, which is nice. So let's say we're gonna let's do a flange, like a flange in and a flange out. So we'll do a hold shift, click it up. Let's say, I don't know, we'll do 3 clicks. What is that? 6.6. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, if we leave it the way it is, and we do a scale, we got that flange thing going on. All right. Let me go. Okay, we'll bring that. We'll flange it until so that gray line is touching in here. Again, nothing like stuff when it comes to like this designy things. I have no precise method. It's just like, okay, that looks fine. You know. All right. So now we're gonna make we go back, type W to get back to this the drag part. Hold shift, and we're gonna go up a little bit, and we'll do the same thing. 3 clicks up. 1, 2, 3. So that's technically the same thickness as this. And then we go back, type E, not E, R, to go back to scale, and let's scale this back out, not holding shift because we don't want to make a new face or anything. We just want to flange it out like that. Now sometimes it's hard to see, like, is that as far as this? Like we can't tell. Like with the 3D perspective, sometimes it's kind of tricky, especially when you're trying to line things up on top of other things. So up here, you can change the view. Right now, it's in perspective. Everything's in a perspective 3D view. If we click this, it will change it to isometric view, like almost like like the old Sims or something like that. So technically, it's not 3D. It's just on an angle, but this will help us line things up. So if you click F, if you type F, that changes the focus on the objects. Especially this is really useful when you're working on small pieces. And we can do this if you type F. So now if you click the axis, like the Y-axis, now we have a top-down flat view of exactly what we're working with here. So we can actually see the line of the other piece below it, and we can just make sure that we got that right over the other one. So this is really this actually is really handy too when it comes to like walls and stuff. If you want to do floor plans and things, you can zoom out and you can see the entire layout. It's really useful, and I don't recommend making everything in isometric mode, but it's really helpful when you're trying to line things up. So now if we go back, now we're dead on exactly with the two lines here and here. Okay, now let's just continue up this column. Okay, I want to leave these lines where they are, so I'm going to hold shift and drag so everything stays there. So now we have this like little flange piece going on here, this little indent, and we're just going to keep going up. Let's go up here and we'll do a step in. Let's say we don't want a flange, we want like a little step, like a groove, like a square groove cut in. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to click type R and then shift, and then that's our scaling, and we're going to scale it in. Scaling's nice because it kind of works with ProGrids, so you can tell like, okay, we're going to click it in a couple times and then click it out a couple times. Okay, so we got that. That's a good thickness. And we're going to go back, type W, so we're going back to our drag tool, and then hold shift, make sure that the faces stay where they are, and we'll make like a little thick, like a little groove. That's a little too thick. Let's make it like really precise there. Okay, that's cool. All right, and then we want to make a new face. We want to keep all this, not, we don't want to drag it to make a new one, so we're going to hold shift. And oh, actually no, we want to scale out, because we scaled in, went up, now we have to scale out. So we're going to do type R, go back to the scale tool, and now hold shift and then drag the center, and we'll go back out. Hey, let's go bigger. Why not? We'll have this like an overhang. Doesn't have to be perfect. Look at that. So now we got like this thing going up. And let's continue the column up. So now hold shift, back to the drag tool by typing W, shift, drag up. We'll make like a cube. Yeah, it looks like a cube, I guess. We'll get close. It doesn't, it's anything you want it to be. It doesn't, it's, Bob Ross, like happy little trees, right? Okay. We're going to, you know what, let's make a new face. We'll leave this face the way it is. All right, and we'll do shift, drag up, and go about there, and scale in. So we got like another flange. Really, this is the top of the column. No one's going to see this. All right, we're going to do shift, make another piece, and see, there's that line. So that looks like, in theory, does that line up with the wall? We don't want it to go too high. All right, so let's take this whole column and just stick it over here somewhere. Oh my God, this thing looks. It looks. Yeah, it looks like something. All right, let's move this column over. Okay, so that my theory with the lines lining up doesn't work. All right, so again, we can use the isometric tool to see that we get the height correct. So we can click this and go on the x-axis, and then boom, we can see that this is too high for the wall. So let's go on the top here, go to the face selection tool, select that face, pop back over to the side view. Now I want to get this, I want to see this a little better. So you can use the mouse wheel and scroll out, but if you click the mouse, you can also drag the view. So now we got the edge, we got the face selection tool, we can just go boom, 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 and there we go. So now with the isometric view, we can tell that this column is the right height, and it's not going to hit anything when you put the roof on. All right, now the beauty of this is we don't have to make every single column. What we can do is a very important thing with world building is make stuff once and copy it a lot, so it looks like something. So we're going to take this column and go to the object selection tool, and we got this column here. Let me rename this. We're going to name this column COLUMN. That's it. That's a freaking weird word. All right. And what we can do is, if you do Control D, boom. Now we have another column, and it says column 1, and ta-da, we got multiple columns. So let's line the wall with these phallic-looking columns. Let's butt this up right against the molding here. We don't want any gaps there. Okay, that looks good. And I don't know. We'll do every 3 meters. No, let's do every 4 meters. We'll stick a column. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do a column up in the corner. A pointless column. I mean, structurally, you wouldn't need a column in the corner of the wall because that would be the strongest point. But you know what? It looks cool, so we're doing it. Okay. And we'll take this column and move it over here. And boom. There we go. Oh, I didn't. There's still a gap here. Okay, well, let's move this in a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Up against the molding. That looks like a gap. Just, there we go. Okay, that's good. And we'll do. Oh, let's go here. We'll just do 1 every 4 meters or something like that, I guess. See, now Raph, this would be good. With maths and stuff, because you'd automatically figure out the divide of this between this and that. I'm just like, I'm just gonna eyeball it because I suck at math. Okay. Did I actually get this right? No. Oh my god, I did. It's exactly 4 meters. Perfect. Look at look at this, my eyeballing, man. It's great. All right, so let me get these back on the mark here. All right. And we'll get this one. Stick it there. Okay. Nope, still not exactly there. We gotta just click it over one more time. There we go. We're on the meter mark. On the meter mark. On the meter mark. On the meter mark. Okay, boom. And again, copying is your friend. We don't have to sit here and drag every single one and do this. What you can do when you make sure that you have your object selection tool selected and you hold shift, you can select all the columns. And now, like once again, Control D, boom, we just copied all those columns. And all you have to do is just make sure that they line up on this side. Okay. There we go. Look at that. So we got our columns. So now the room doesn't look like a boring box. It's got something. It's got some boring texture to it, but we got something going on here. Okay. I'm just going to add another cube here. I'm not going to be too fancy with it. Actually, no, I'm going to hold off on that because it might be in the way for designing stuff. All right, I'm just going to take a quick break because we're now an hour in here. I'm just going to have a little soda. If anybody wants to... Does anyone have any questions so far? Oh my god, I sound like a teacher. This is weird. Let me see. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I just never taught anything. I just kind of do stuff. Never actually had to teach people to do things. Making a series of how to make worlds. Yeah. What I'm gonna do is hopefully I think this is recording. I don't know. I think it is. Yeah, it's recording. I might take this and stick this onto YouTube later, and see how if this is helpful. Because I mean, I used YouTube as well to learn how to make this stuff and poking around and things, and it was just funny because like I just wanted something start to finish. Like, how do you do this? And it was never like that. I couldn't find a video that was like that. It always felt like somebody they would do a video and they kind of like berate you and go like, oh well, you should already know this and you should already know that and you know, and this is all you do. And it's like, no, like you have to approach it like you're on a blank slate. Like, you know, you just can't tell people, oh, you just do this. You know, it's like you kind of have to build up to that. And I just didn't find that on YouTube. So maybe this will be helpful. I don't know. Spooky Ghost Boo. The full world. I think I think I saw that one. That's the one where the guy makes like this nighttime like lounge balcony thing. But yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's get here. All right, so we got our columns. Let me see here. Boom. Let's go over, because I don't want to put a roof on this right now because it's going to be in the way. Roof is usually the last thing I want to do. We got the floor, we got the moldings, we got columns. All right, I'm going to put some more. No, I'll save that for the ceiling later. I'm just trying to think here. All right, let's get started with materials, because we got some stuff we can slap materials on. This is also a pretty critical point, because sometimes you don't want to put materials on things right away, because there might be a way around it. I don't know. But excuse me. With the ProGrids texture, so right now everything has got this ProGrids texture, which is really nice because you can gauge and measure, but once you slap a texture on it, I have no idea how you can get that back unless you Control Z back to the original texture. So let's go back and we'll make some textures. If you go click down here in your assets folder, this is basically where you keep all your tools, like everything that you were using to make the world with. Actually, I didn't even go over the windows. I'm terrible. Yeah, so obviously this is where you work. This is where all the shapes and objects will be populated. And this is your assets window. Now this is all the stuff, your materials and everything, your pictures and your music, and you just keep everything in here. And when you drag and drop stuff in here, it literally copies it into its own folder on the computer. It's not like making like a reference or a shortcut to a file. So let me go here. I have a let me see, data, VRC demo. Let me just save this too. That's also a good thing. Make sure to save. Now there's two things when it comes to saving too. One time I made a horrible mistake. If you see right now, I saved this. I saved the project, the Unity. You go here, you go save. And it's like, okay, it saved it. Basically what it's saving is the cubes and things. It's not technically saving where the cubes are. And I made a horrible mistake one time. I was working on a world, and I had the whole thing roughed out. Everything looked great, and Unity crashed. But I was like, oh, I saved it. It's no problem. I open up the save. It's just a blank slate. There's nothing in there. You have to save the scene as well. So if you look in the assets right now, there's nothing there. But if you go up to sample scene and go save scene, it's going to save it. So now in here is sample scene. So when the thing crashes and you've made all this stuff and you don't have a scene, it has nowhere to put it. You have to save the scene too. So when you go in, sometimes if it's crashed, everything's gone. You're like, oh crap, where's my work? You have the scene. So you take the scene and then drag it into the hierarchy, and it will just pop everything back in where it was supposed to be. And one time I did that. I did not save the scene. I saved the project and not the scene, and I lost hours and hours and hours of work, and that sucked. So that's always an important thing to do. So I just go back and forth. I'm save project, save scene, save project, save scene. Just a peace of mind. And also another safe thing to do is if Unity crashes, don't start Unity right away. Don't go back into the project. What I like to do is I like to have like a recovery folder, and I make a new folder going, you know, like project name, crash, and the date, and then I'll go to where the Unity project is stored, and I just copy the entire folder into a separate directory. So whatever it was, it's got a backup, and then I go back to Unity and I start the project, because I've also heard horror stories where Unity crashes and you open up Unity and something's not right and it lost everything, and then it creates another log file and overwrites the other file, like the other recovery file, and you can never get it back. And if you have a copy of it that was never opened, it still has the old information in it. So whenever I run into something where it crashes, I'm doing an upload or it crashes, I'm like, oh crap, I'll just take the entire Unity file, dump it into I have a separate hard drive, and I just dump it into a thing with a crash date, and I'm like, okay, this is what the project was when this happened. I never opened it, so everything is still there, and it's just another peace of mind. All right, so let's get back to materials here. So again, it doesn't give you this. I just like to keep things safe, so I go up to create and create a new folder just to keep things nice and organized. And I don't know, we'll just do, I call it images sometimes. I don't know. You can call it materials. You can call it whatever you want. Just make a new folder. And in here, I like to dump all the images and things that I'll make materials out of. So once again, I just have some things here that I already put in here. So for the demo, we got a couple of things. I'm just going to highlight all of these and just drag and drop them into my images folder here. And that's going to churn away and put them in there. Okay. So now we have these images, or whatever. So basically what you can do is, they don't call them, well, it's a texture, but they call it material. So we need to make materials to wrap our objects with. So let's start with the floor. Now again, this is all one piece. So when I click on the floor, we can see that the walls and everything are highlighted here. We don't want to texture everything, so we just drop a texture on there. It's going to cover the walls and the ceiling and everything, which is fine if it's a roller skating rink, but we're not making a roller skating rink right now. We don't want carpet on the walls. So let's go to gray carpet tile. Now, there are tons and tons of really cool free images and things online. If you just Google free 3D textures, if you do 3D textures, there's some really great sites that will give you everything you need to make a nice 3D texture. Now, when it comes to building on the material, there are different there's multiple pieces of this to create the texture, because you can take a picture of a rug and just make it a texture, but it's going to look flat. It needs height, it needs depth, and there are multiple different types of images that have to be overlaid on top of each other to make the full texture work. And we'll go through that right now. So with this gray carpet tile, some of them, it depends on how detailed the thing is. This one, we have two pictures here. One's a normal map, and one's just the base image map. So the normal map basically it actually creates height. So if you look at something in 3D in VRChat, and it's a bumpy or a textured surface, that is mostly related to the normal map, and this basically is telling the computer, purple is a very low part, and light blue is very tall. So it'll actually give things texture. And I always like to use normal maps as much as I can, especially when creating textures, because everything has a texture to it, unless it's like glass or like very smooth marble. Things are gonna have texture. So always, even if there's not a texture out there, you can always make it. You can find a picture of something and go, okay, that looks kind of lumpy, and then you can go just Google lumpy bump map or something, or normal map, and you'll find something that looks like this weird blue purple thing, and we can overlay those two images and make something that actually has some texture to it. So it's up to you, whatever you really want to do with it, because it's all dependent on what layers that you use. So right now we'll make the carpet texture. So we go right click down here in the project window and go up to create and down to material. So now we have this new material. We're going to kind of call it carpet. All right, and now we have this blank sphere that's got nothing on it. So albedo is basically the picture. What is the image that you want to wrap the item with? So we can just take this and drag it right over albedo. So now we got this sphere. Now you can see it's like kind of shiny, and carpet's not really shiny. So there's other settings that we can do. We have metallic and smoothness. Now smoothness is especially when it comes to making glass and things you want that are really shiny and like reflective. You want to crank the smoothness up. So we can crank this all the way up, and now we got like a piece of carpet that looks like marble or something bizarre. You can get nuts with this, but we don't want that. We want the carpet is not smooth, so we just crank that all the way down to nothing. So we got this nice, whatever, but it looks flat. So we can use this normal map, and we drag that to the normal map. Now the Unity is very picky with the naming convention of the normal map, so it'll automatically fix it. So if it doesn't look right, the naming doesn't match, it's going to screw with it. So if it just do fix now, and it does it. So now if we look at the sphere, it's got shadow and it's got texture to it like actual carpet. That's really what we were looking for. So it's always nice to use normal maps. Now there's other things like height map, occlusion, and detail mask. I'll get into those in a minute, depending on what type of texture and how high of quality texture it is you're using. The carpet, I'm not really going to worry about too much. Normal map with that image over it, that's fine. So now we're back. Let's get back to this floor here. So the floor and the walls are all one piece. And if I just take this and I drag it, oh my God, everything is a carpet. I don't want everything to be carpet. All right, so Control Z. If you want to do individual selections of what you want to put a texture on, you have to use the face selection tool. So it's telling it, okay, highlight that and go, I want that just to be the carpet. So now we can take the carpet and drag it, and there we go. So now we have a nice carpet with some carpet texture on it. Nice, boring office floor texture. And that's basically how you start to build out the world with the textures. So let's get to the columns here. All right, we're going to go back. Let's see. We'll do blue marble. Now, here in blue marble, we see we have a normal map, but we also have a thing called a displacement, an occlusion, and a rough map. So this is actually going to give us a higher quality texture when it comes to when we actually light the world later on. So it's going to look really cool. So we'll make this new material. So again, we'll right-click and create material. And I'm just going to call this marble. All right, so we have our marble, and we're going to stick the picture of the marble in albedo. And already it looks pretty cool, but to make it really pop, you have to use all these other ones. So let's actually, while we're at it, we're going to crank up the smoothness on this. Not all the way, because I mean that would be like super fine, and nothing is ever like that's like precision. We'll do 0.8. All right. And now let's take the normal map and drag that in. It's probably going to say, okay, fix now, fix it. Look at that already. You see how we got like this unevenness, like a piece of stone? Like, it's already looking really cool. And with all these other extra textures, layers, it's gonna really look good. Sometimes I get confused. Honestly, I get confused with these. There's displacement and roughness, and if you look in here, occlusion's always pretty much spot on because the file says occlusion. The naming conventions are always not 100%. Whoever made the texture, it maybe in another program it calls it something else. So half the time when you get these files from a 3D texture source online, the naming is not going to be conventional. So sometimes it's just trial and error between which one's the height map, which is the detail mask, and things like that. So let's start with the occlusion, because obviously that's OCC, so that's the occlusion. We'll put that on the occlusion. Now it doesn't look like anything right now because that is affected when we're going to generate the lighting. It's actually going to help with the lighting. Height map, let's say displacement. I think, yeah, maybe this displacement is. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. If not, we'll just switch them. So we'll put displacement on height map, and we'll put the roughness on detail. That looks pretty good. All right, we'll leave that. Okay. So now, unlike the floor, let's say we want the entire column marble, and like we can add some accents to this, but most of these faces are going to be marble. So instead of sitting here and selecting each one of these faces, and oh, I'm already screwing it up. Selecting each one of these faces, we'll just do object selection tool, and now we have the whole thing there, and we can just drag it and drop it, and bam, the whole thing is marble. But maybe we don't want the whole thing to be marble. Now, the cool thing is we don't need to even have textures. We can make our own materials from scratch. We can go back to images, and let's make a new material right from scratch. Go right click, create, go down to material, and now we have this white thing. And if you go here, we can change it. We can make it any color we want. We'll make like a gold, like a yellowy. Yeah, that's cool. All right, we'll make like gold, nice gaudy gold and marble. Man, this is gonna. I love making stuff that looks like it's in the 80s. I can't help it. All right, so that doesn't really look like gold. It's kind of bleh. So if we crank the smoothness up, ho, look at that. We're getting something. But gold is a metal, and this looks like shiny plastic. That doesn't look like gold to me. That's where we have this lovely thing called the metallic slider. You crank this up. Oh, look at that. Now, I mean, it doesn't really make sense in here, but it's got more of a metallic look to it. So now we want, let's say, this section. Let's make this base gold, because you don't want marble down there; it'll chip. So, getting really in depth with these stupid columns. All right, so we'll select these faces. If you hold Shift and click, you can select all these faces. Even the one behind the mold. Screw the one behind the molding. No one's going to see that. If you're seeing the one behind the face behind the molding, you're cheating and clipping through the wall or something. All right. So let's wrap this with gold. All right. It doesn't really look like gold right now, and there's a reason for that. There's a thing called, we'll get to it with the lighting, with reflection probes. It's the next step that will help. Reflection probes help things with lighting. But, okay. And again, working in batches, I should have not made all these columns. I should have made the column and textured it. Instead of making all these with no texture. Again, make it once, copy it a lot. You know, that's the theory. All right, we'll make this column, and I'll quickly just boom, and copy those really quick. So let's go back. Now we'll make something. Let's make this glow. We'll make like a cool glowing light ring or something in here. All right, up in here, we'll make this like a glowing thing. So we go back, right-click, create material, And let's make, I don't know, we'll do like a teal. Teal always looks cool. All right, we'll do that. Okay. And it's not really, it's just teal. It doesn't look like anything. But you can make these colors glow. You can even make pictures, like the images glow. If you want this marble to glow, you can do it this way. This is a mission checkbox. If you click that, and now we have this here, and you can just go back and say, okay, I want this color. All right. Now that thing is glowing. That's bright. And we're going to go in here, go in the face selection tool, and bam, we're going to just dump that right in there. Look at that. It's a cool teal light. Oop. Face selection. Now, with these emissive layers, they are technically lights that will cast some glow to them when we actually go to render the lighting. But as them being a light source, they aren't the best. It's more for accents. Like, so I wouldn't go trying to light a room with an emissive material. The best thing to do with this, especially when it comes to like overhead lighting, if you want like a sign or a light to glow, it's make this glow, but then you could make a light source on top of that that would actually project light. So these are what we're doing right here is basically for accent. It's not gonna really do anything. Okay. Yeah, let's leave that the way it is. You know, let's put some gold up on this too. Put a gold box on it. You know. Okay. There we go. All right, so let me go back. Now, another way, if you want to select things and say, I want to select all these columns, you can go to this little search bar up here in the hierarchy and just type it in. And now it's isolated just the columns. So if you're trying to hunt around for, like, say you made a chair and you put this chair all throughout the world and you don't want the chair anymore, and you don't want to go hunting for every single chair that you put, you can just search for it. And if you just do click, shift, and, you know, highlight all, now we got all the columns. Now which column is that? I don't know. We'll find out. So if I do control, there it is. So column 8 is the one I made. Everything else are the columns I don't want because there's no textures. And those are the ones highlighted. I just hit delete. Boom, they're gone. And then you exit out, and we're back to the full view again. So let me just go real quick, go back to object select mode, select the whole object, drag it over. See what I was saying, when you're going to start texturing things and you lose that measurement, things get kind of tricky because now you don't have that grid to go off of. But luckily I have it here on the wall, so I'll still know my 4-meter gap. Okay. Again, Control D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put that there. That's on the line. I think it's on the line. No, it's a little off. Right there. Yep, on the line. Control D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Okay. You hanging in there? How's it looking? How are we going? 67 viewers. Wow, it's amazing. We're still there. Thank you. Thank you all so much for spending your time here with me, showing you this stuff. I don't want to go too long. We're already an hour and a half in. I don't want to tie up your night with this stuff. All right, let's nudge it over one time. Okay, there we go. Duplicate. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. I think that one's, no, it's still off. There we go. And the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Do. Oh, no, that's clipping through the wall. We got to go back a little bit. There we go. Up against the molding, up against the molding. Okay. Now, clone them all, go to column, shift, select, so it selects all 5 columns. And it's Control D, and boom, we got these lovely, gross marble columns. All right. And put that up against the molding. There we go. Bam. Okay. Let's make the molding for the floor here. I'm going to go back to where we're in images here. Let's see, the wood. Wood. That's a good wood. Good wood. All right. Right click, create material. This is wood. I don't know. Mood. What am I doing? Wood. All right. We got wood. The base color. This, again, the naming conventions can be anything. This, whoever made this is calling the albedo the base color. So take the wood, drag it into albedo. You got the wood. It's got a bit of a sheen to it. That's fine. We'll keep it like that. I mean, wood, wood's shiny, right? Take the normal map, drop it into the normal map. See, now this one says ambient occlusion. Perfect. That's what we needed right here. Ambient occlusion. All right. The height map. See, oh, these are perfect. There it is. Height map. Just drag it into height map. And roughness. Okay, so this helps us out. We used all the textures. The one that says roughness has to be the detail mask. So next time I see something that says roughness, that means the detail mask. See, I'm learning something tonight. Okay. So if you want to add Tron lines, yes, the emissive layers will be your magical Tron lines. You can make as many Tron lines to make everything glow as much as you want. All right. So we got the wood. I got wood. There it is. All right. We're going to now, the entire thing's wood. We're not going to have to worry about the faces on it. We can just go object select, click the molding. The whole thing is lit up. And we're just going to drop the wood on the molding. Bam. Look at that. Now, this is interesting. Sometimes the texture is not going in the direction you want. So if you look at that, you see how the grain is going up and down, and that's normally not how the wood works. So again, with the ProGrids tool, not ProGrids, ProBuilder tool, there's a thing called a UV editor. Now, UV does not mean ultraviolet. It means basically the mapping of the picture of the texture on the surfaces of the area. It has nothing to do with the ultraviolet. I thought it confused the hell out of me. So we have to edit the UV to make sure that the wood is going in the right direction. So you go to face selection tool and you select the face where the direction of the texture is not going the way you want it. All right. And we go to the ProBuilder tool. I had this off to the side on my other screen. So here's the ProBuilder tool. And there's a UV editor tool. And in here, it's showing us where this face is mapped on the picture of the wood. And it's going this way, and the grain is going this way. So we go to rotation, and just simply type in 90. And that's it. And we can close this. And now if you look at it, look, see now the wood, the grain is going this direction. So that's how you can rotate textures in the world if they're not lining up the way you wanted them to line up. Unfortunately, you would have to do this with every texture in the world. So see how this is still, this piece of molding is still like that, and this piece of molding is still like that. So let me just really quick just go in and check this. See, this is where it eats up a lot of time when it comes to editing. I mean, normally I do this stuff at the very last end of it, where you know I know the world's completely done, and then I'll start going in. But I want this to look good right out of the box when we get done with it. Okay, 90. And the last piece in the back here. Okay. we go. So now the UVs are edited on the molding. Now let's get to the wall texture here. I'll go back to images and then my assets. And let's see, we have drop ceiling, gray tile, gray. Oh my God, why did I make so many gray things? Gray carpet. We have got gray tiles. Why did I do that? You know what? I was not. Let's make our own texture with just a normal map. That'd be good. All right. So let's go back. We'll make a right click, create new material, and we'll call this walls. All right. So let's say I want the walls to be, I don't know, like a light blue or something. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Again, but a wall isn't going to be completely smooth like this. So we can change this up with just a bump map. We don't need an albedo layer. We already technically have an albedo layer. It's blue. And we can assign a normal map to this and make a completely new texture. Let me just go here off to the side. I have some stuff. One second. I'm actually going into one of my. That's the other neat thing. As you start making more and more projects in Unity, you can go into your other Unity files from those projects and pull out images or textures or even objects that you've made and bring them into other worlds. So say if I made something in the mall and I want to put that in here, I can totally do it. So let me go to, where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm just digging into one of my other projects here to get a normal map. Okay. I'm dragging this in here. Okay. So now I dragged a normal texture. It's just called subtle paint texture. It doesn't have, it's just to break it up. So we go back to the blue wall and see how it's just smooth. Gonna take this subtle paint texture and dump it into the normal map and fix now. See now, if you look, you can see that in here. It looks like painted sheetrock. It looks like something. It's not completely smooth. And that's the thing. I always like to try to use normal maps as much as possible just to break things up. Nothing's completely smooth. It's always got some type of texture to it. All right, so we're going to take this and drop it in here. Ooh, that's really blue. So now this is cool too. So if you make something, you can eyeball it and go, that's too much. You can always go back to the material and edit the material, and it will just change real time in the world. So you can go here and go, all right, that green. Let's see. That green looks. Yeah. All right. Why not? No. You know what? There we go. This blue. Okay, so now if you look real close, you can see there's a texture on there. Okay, maybe this looks too shiny. All right, that looks like gloss. We want like a semi-gloss. So you can go back to smoothness, and again, real time. You can just drag it down a little bit, and there you go. So now we have the walls. Now notice this wall didn't get painted blue because this is a separate object. This is completely different. So we have to go in and change that and, well, apply that texture to it. So we can just go like that and boom. Now this one I didn't have to change all the faces. Also too, if you notice this, because this again was one piece and I did the carpet texture on the one piece of the floor, but since the walls and everything are attached to the floor and I didn't select the individual faces, everything that's selected turns blue. So if you don't select an individual face and you dump it on, the entire object will turn blue, will turn that texture, and everything that you did individual faces stays. So like, it's always a good practice to go and add in all the detail textures first that you want, and then the bulk of the rest of it, you can just dump the texture on and be done with it. And this doesn't really matter because we're not going to see out the outside. We're not going to, and even that later on, if I wanted to put bricks or something on here, I can always go back, go to the face selection and select this face tool and, you know, stick a brick texture on there and it's fine. So there's that. Okay. Now let's see here. All right, let's just do the ceiling. We'll do the ceiling and then button this room up and get it uploaded, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, we'll do a new cube. So we'll go back to ProBuilder, new shape. It's like we're back at square one, but don't worry, it's gonna, you'll get quicker and quicker at this. So we'll go back here and get this on the edge. Alright. And up a little bit right there. Okay, we're good. Drag it over to the corner. Alright, that looks good. And I'll go to the face selection tool, click that, just drag down, squish it down a little bit. Alright, that's good. Select this face, drag it out, and voila, there we go. Now once again, because we've already textured our other surfaces, we don't have anything to measure off of. See how the meters, we have nothing to go off of. So I generally like the bulk of the place to be done in the textures so I can measure things and not start texturing things right away, because you can run into this issue if you're trying to get things lined up. But this doesn't really matter since this is just the ceiling and it's completely has nothing to do with the rest of the room. It'll be okay. Okay, that's a little too long. Let's see, does that line up on this edge? We'll check this edge. Yeah, we're good. So there we go. We got our ceiling, we got the roof, and look at that. The columns meet perfectly up with this. Now, there is a thing where you can make things intersect each other, and what this causes, it causes overlapping UV layers, and Unity will throw a lot of fits and errors in the console, saying that you have intersecting UVs, but it doesn't really stop anything from making the VRChat world playable. But if you make a lot of intersecting UVs, it does actually affect the performance. So you always got to try to keep things just butted up against each other, not actually going through each other. But I mean, it's going to happen. There's no way it's just going to happen. But it's not the end of the world. But just try not to go nuts with it. All right, let's go. I'm going to use one of my favorite materials. I've used this in almost all my worlds. Go back to images, the drop ceiling. There is I think it's on, there's a free 3D texture site, and it has a beautiful drop texture ceiling, and it's got all these goodies, everything, and I've used this to make all sorts of stuff. So we're gonna make a drop ceiling here. Okay, I go right click, create material, and this is really going to show the power of the normal map, because it's actually going to generate like the fins and things on the vents. You're really going to see how this works. It's pretty cool. So let me get this ProBuilder window out of here. Okay, let's start with you have to find the base. Okay, that looks like the base layer, but it's not. If you look down here, it says the height. That's the height map. Here, that's the roughness. Ambient occlusion. Okay, this says base color. That's what we wanted. So we go here and select base color. That's not base color. Well, see, this is kind of tricky. So what you can do, let me rename this too. Come on. Just going to call it drop. All right. So maybe like you have a ton of images and you can't find it. You can always click this little dot here and this will open up the select texture, and you can actually just select it through here or even search it. So if I just do base, there we go, I can see my base. Alright, there we go. So we got the base texture. Now let's add the normal. Damn it. See, there's a lot of files in this one. So, I'm just going to do it this way. Go in here, normal. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Height map. We're going to do base color. Height. There it is, height map. Okay, occlusion. There it is. And like we saw before, the roughness. Where if I can find it. Base color. Height. Roughness. There it is, roughness. Now, what's interesting with this drop ceiling texture is it has lights in it. Now, the emissions layer, we need to have this. It looks like a mask or something. This has to go into the lights. There we go. So you could, like, when we made the glowing teal, where everything was basically copied the teal down to the color, it will make that. But then you can make just certain items glow, and it has to overlay and line up with the base layer. So here it's almost like a mask, and it's showing that only these items are going to light up, and then that's how you get the lights. So there we go. So now we have that. Let's turn the smoothness down, because we don't want that to be shiny. That's, drop ceiling is rough looking. All right, so now we go here. We can select the face and apply our new material. Okay, there it goes. Now you see this looks like it's too small. Like it's not, it's way too much tiny tiles. We want these to be bigger. So what you can do is you can actually modify the texture. If we go to the texture, there's tiling and offset under the texture here, and this will stretch the picture of the texture. So let's say we want this to be 0.5, so it's half. That's even too small. Let's do 0.25. Okay, that looks good. And since these are squares, it's going to be X and Y are both going to be 0.25. There, so now it looks good. But also we notice that, look at this, like these lights are kind of chopped off. That doesn't really look right. So we can also offset the texture on the material itself. So if we go back to the material, and you can see down here, offset X and Y. So if we offset, we can drag it and get it just where we want it. Like that. So now that looks good. That's not too bad. It's a little off, but all right. Let's just center it maybe a little bit. This doesn't be perfect. All right, that looks good, and yeah, that's fine. Oh, look at that. That one's right on the money. Okay, perfect. So now we got this drab office ceiling in this beautiful. What were we gonna make this like a hall or something? I don't even know anymore. But here we go. Oh yeah. The drop ceiling in the balcony world. That was interesting because I needed these are considered 2x2. Because the standard size of a drop ceiling tile is 2x2, but they also make 2x4, which you see a lot. And the 2x4 texture doesn't exist, and I needed that for the drop ceiling for the indoor balcony world. So what I actually had to do is I took the image files of the normal maps and all these other maps, and I took them into Photoshop and edited each layer to take out this little beam. So I had a 2x4 drop ceiling tile, and I made my new material complete with the height, the roughness maps, and the bump maps and everything, and it looked fine. It looks like a 2x4, 3D ceiling tile, and I made that thing entirely in Photoshop. So you can even do that. You can dig deeper into making your own custom textures with other people's textures and stuff. So yeah, it's really endless. Whatever you want to do. All right, so we got our world here, and there's some lighting going on here. Not too much. Now let's say we're going to generate the lighting. Well, I'm not going to touch anything right now. We're just going to say the way the world looks right now. We're going to do, let's go here. We'll go to Window, General, no, Rendering, Lighting Settings. So you open the Lighting Settings window. Now, to optimize your VRChat world, there's different ways to, there's two different types of light. Well, there's different types of lighting, and there's also different types of way the light is rendered. You can do baked lighting or real-time lighting. And real-time lighting is really nice because when people are in VRChat and they're walking around, you can see the shadows and everything, and it's really nice. But it's very graphic intensive, and you want to refrain from using as many real-time lights as possible, because the more you add, the more less optimized the world's going to be. Also, the default directional light that comes with the project is also a real-time light, so you also have to take that in consideration. And so the best thing to do to get things looking the nicest is to bake the lighting. So right now, all we have is a directional light and these little emissive blue things, and then technically the lights here in the drop ceiling are emissive, so those are going to be lights. So we're going to generate the lighting, we're going to bake the lighting, and see what this looks like. Now, this is a very important piece that it'll drive you crazy when you're trying to bake lighting. The way it does it, it calculates the light rays in the room and how it's bouncing off the surfaces. Now, to tell the computer what surfaces the light needs to bounce off of, they have to be set as static. Now, right, everything we've been making now is not been set to static. If you look over here on the right, there's this little checkbox that says static. To get everything to render properly with lighting, you need to make sure everything in your world is set to static. And basically that's just telling the computer these things are not moving. You can generate light around them and see how they're being generated. So you always have to make sure things are set to static. If there's objects in the world like you can pick up, those are not static. Like pick up objects and things, you have to make sure those are not static, because it's going to generate shadows around those objects, and then when you go pick it up, the shadows are going to still be there because it's calculated like it was not supposed to move. So since this is just a room, nothing's moving, we have to make sure this is all set to static. So what I like to just do, go over to the hierarchy, just go Control A, make sure everything is selected and is hit static. And now everything is set to static. Now what we're going to do is generate the lighting. So it looks like everything's lit right now, it looks fine, but that's technically not what the world lighting looks like. So if we do generate lighting, there's also down here in light mapping settings, it's telling the computer, well, how do you want the computer to process the lighting? CPU progressive CPU is more accurate, but it takes a longer time. Generally when I'm working and I just want to get an idea, I'm always using progressive GPU. It's offsetting it to the graphics card to do the lighting, and it usually, something like this basic, I bet you it'll take like 2 minutes or a minute. So let's generate the lighting and we'll see what we get. So now here in the lower right hand corner, it's baking. Okay, it's so simple, it's already done. So now it's writing files. These they're basically maps of the shadows and things. So now this is actually what we got. All right. Now you can see, like, it's got some shadows to it. It's okay. Let's make sure to save this right now. All right, this is the texture normal map. Okay, we gotta fix that. That's fine. Oh, that's also nice too. When you go to save the project, it will look for normal maps that are not named correctly, and will fix them automatically. So when you ever get that, just do fix now and you're good. All right, let's do sample scene, save scene as. Okay. Oh my God, we're at 10 o'clock. So we start 8, 9, 10. So we're 2 hours in. Okay, we're gonna hopefully next maybe 30 minutes we'll get this uploaded. I don't want to keep you guys too long. How many people are still watching? Oh my God, I still have 70 people. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for hanging in there. All right, let's get this rolling. So you can see that the lights are there. It's, you know, it's okay. We can generate some more lights. And we can go here. We go up to game object and go down to light. Now we have different lights here. We have directional light, point light, spotlight, and area light. Directional light is like the sun. You don't want to have multiple suns in your world. You really want to just stick with for the basics, just leave the one directional light that comes with the VRChat, with the starter world that comes with default settings with Unity. That's the sun. You don't need that. Just leave the one that you have. Point light is like a glow, like say if you had a lamp in the room or something. So like it's a sphere of light that just kind of in this one point just spreads out into the room. And so it's like a lamp or something, or like a chandelier that's hanging or something. You want to use a point light for that. Spotlight is a spotlight, like you know, like a hi-hat or something, like, or track lighting or something like that, and that will generate that. I can just show you right here. So that's a spotlight. If you go to the object select tool, you can drag this around and you can see. So these are cool for like clubs or studios or something like that. And we'll do a area light. Not area. Not going to do that one right now. Light. We do point light. So now point light, you see how that one just kind of makes the whole room, like the whole area, just glow. So let's say like we'll make a stage or something, or no, you know what? Let's put that by the entrance. Make like a cool glowy area when you walk in. All right. Put that right there. And we'll do this. Let's do like a spotlight. We'll do, you know, let's leave this. Now these lights too are real time. Right now they're being rendered real time. If you look at the properties of these lights, if I click on this one, you see the mode is real time. You really don't need to have these real time, especially area lights. I mean, point lights and things where there's not really any shadows. You don't need to have those real time. So when we're ready, we'll make sure that these lights are set to baked or real time, whatever we need to do. So we'll put this right here. Let's change the color. We can change the color to these lights. Let's do like a purple or something. Yeah, like that. Or pink. That's pretty cool. Look at that. So now we got this cool pink area that when you're walking in. And look at that, and see, you can see it like shining off the marble because we have that set to the the thing. And this is gonna look even cooler with the gold once we get to the reflection probes that I was talking about. All right, we'll take this spotlight and we'll just bring this over here, and we'll angle it like that. And then I generally use the rotation tools up here to get a good idea of what I want it to do. There we go. And now if you want it to be a little brighter, like that's not enough, you can take the center of this and just drag it. And what that's actually doing is telling the computer, okay, I want the light to go out this far, but if it's hitting a surface, it's going to make it the intensity of it brighter. You can also change the intensity here, but what that does is if you crank that up, it tends to wash out the avatars when people are walking into the room. And if the intensity is more than 1, it just washes out their color and they're just completely white. You can't see anything. If you need something brighter, it's always best to just drag this circle and get the light where you want it. All right, so that, we'll say that corner is cool like that. All right, we'll change that. We'll make that like green or something. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Now, like, say you want to make another one, you can go up to the game object, or I can just clone this one. So I'm just going to go Control D and just grab it, and boom, we got another one. Now, also, you've run into problems. If you make a lot of spotlights in one spot, one of the spotlights, if you go more than two, they tend to cancel each other out. So I always try to keep those away from each other. You don't want too many in the same spot, because you'll get some weird lighting going on. All right, so that's cool. We've got like these cool spotlights. Let's change this one. We'll make it like Christmassy colors. There we go. Look at that. We got green and red. Now these are also real-time lights. You know what? Let's leave. You know, no, I'm not gonna leave these real-time. We'll do one real-time light just so you can see the reflections, but these won't be good right now. All right. Let's do the other light is the area light. Now this is what I love to do. I love using these, especially in conjunction with drop ceilings, because this is basically emulating like one of these box lights. Like these, it's a square of light basically, and the blue arrow is indicating which way the light's going to shine down. Now these are interesting because unlike the spotlights and the point lights, they're not real time. You can never make these real time. So to get an idea of what it's going to do exactly, it's kind of set it and render and see what it looks like. You can't tell what it's going to do right away. So let's take this, and I generally want to put this up near the ceiling. All right, and this is also a good use of the isometric mode when you're trying to lay out these area lights, because you can't tell. And there we go. So let's get this in the center of the room. We're in the middle there, and then with these little squares, you can drag these out, and this is just telling it, all right, I want you to make the area of light this big. All right, so I got an idea of where it is in the center. And all right, let's go and make it about that wide. So basically what this is telling the computer is there is going to be an area of light projecting down that's roughly the size of whatever this is. All right. Let's change it to some wacky color. Let's do teal, like that, to go with these teal things. I don't know. See, I set it, but you don't see any teal light. We're going to have to generate the light. So before we bake the lights again, we have to make sure that these are all set to be baked, because right now they're real time and they look pretty and all, but they will really put a hurting on the computer, especially when a lot of people show up or whatever. So we'll go to the lights here and make sure that these are, the mode is set to baked. And the spotlight, baked. And the area light, there's no setting for it because it can only be baked. You can never have that real time. All right, so once again, I'm just gonna Control Alt, just make sure everything is static, nothing's moving. Change children, yes. Okay, we're all static. Now we'll bake the lights. Generally, this will look pretty much the same, but in this area where this area light is, will probably look a little purpley or teal or something. We'll see. All right, let's generate the light off to the camera. Oh, I'll bring it over here. Go back to the lighting, generate lighting. Look, right away we can see now there's this teal glow right above where we told that light to be. All right, there we go. The light's done. So now we have this pink area light. We got this teal light. We got these two spotlights. Let's put like one real-time light, like a stage light or something. I don't know. I'll go back to game object, light, spotlight. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna drag it in. There it is. It's gonna leave this one like a white stage light or something. All right, we're gonna rotate it that way. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna bring this out. It's getting dim, so go to take the center, push it out. There we go. Bring it down a little bit. Again, it's all whatever you want it to do. And also you can drag the circle and make it wider like that. So there we go. All right, that's cool. We can get rid of our blue guy. We don't need him anymore. So this, you can go object select them. No, get out of here. Delete. Okay. There we go. So we got our lights, we got our real-time light, we got some colored lights, we got all festive, all crazy stuff. Okay. Now we have to actually now we have to tell VRChat, where do we want our person to come into the world? We need a spot for them to show up. They can't just show up. And the world will not work without this. So we're going to go back to assets, go to the VRChat examples, and go to prefabs, and you'll see VRC world. Now this is the piece. It doesn't look like anything. You can't see anything. It's just telling the computer that this is where we want the person to join the world. So we take it and we drag it into where we want it. So there we go. Now they're going to show up right in this spot, and the player is always going to face the blue arrow. So wherever the blue arrow, when they join the world, that's where they'll be facing. So there we go. So we have a VRChat world. Now we're getting really close to putting this into VRChat. We'll go to VRChat SDK and go to Show Control Panel. All right. It's going to ask you, my thing's already in here, so I'm going to sign in. All right. Go to Builder. Now, this is a brand new world, so it's going to have to set up a lot of things. And I generally like to get the world roughly set up before I do this step, because it sets up the collisions and tells, okay, the player can't clip through this or fall through this. So I generally like to have the world in a rough shape, like a rough box at least, before I do this. So we're ready to go. So we'll do setup layer. It does this like automatically. So setup layers, do it. All right, and now it says setup collision masters. Do it. All right. There we go. Now I have full confidence. Watch, I'm going to jinx myself. I don't need to build and test. I mean, you can build and test like once those things are done, because you can check it out, and if you have things that you want to pick up objects or something like that. But this is basically a room, just to make sure. And also, once we know that's in, I'll show you a couple final little things if you want to how to put pictures and things onto the walls and stuff like that. So we just want to make sure that this world gets uploaded and we can walk around in it. Okay, so let's build and publish for Windows. All right, so what it's doing now is it's going and taking all this information and it's bundling it up and it's putting into a Unity package file. Listening to you is like smooth jazz to the ears, except it's about Unity projects. You said it was going to be a ballroom. It's an office style ballroom. Yes, I'm making the cube in ProBuilder. Yep. So the ProBuilder window, and I just go create new object. All right. So it's taking all the shaders and everything and it's bundling it up. How do you make a respawn plane? By default, Unity already has a respawn plane. It's something crazy. It's in the settings somewhere. I haven't really. I remember I saw it once, but yeah, you don't really have to worry about it. I'll even show you when we get this up into VRChat. If we walk out the door and we fall, it will take like a couple seconds, but you'll definitely everything comes with a respawn plane. There are ways to like drag it up though and make it even shorter if you want it, but I have never really messed with that. And usually I notice that this bundling thing goes a little faster when I think the world's already been in there or something. It just feels like it goes quicker. Always the first time seems the longest. All right, so there we go. So now this is the upload screen for VRChat, and it has an upload image that looks like garbage. We don't want to show that. So if you go over to the scene tab, you'll see in here it added a thing called VRC camera, and this is where you can take the picture of the world that you created. So we're just going to drag it up a little bit, and we're going to rotate it on the y-axis, and it gives you this little window of what the camera's seeing. And oh, look at that, we get to see all our pretty lights. That's nice. All right, so now if you go back to the game tab, we got that. So that's going to be the upload image. So we're going to call this just demo world. Okay, and player capacity, depending on how complex the world is, you can set that to whatever you want. The only thing is you set a capacity of say 20 people, but if you have it as a friends plus world, there is a hard cap of 40. So even though you have 20, that means 20 people can join in, but then all those 20 people can also invite friends, and then you can overload the world and push it to 40. So depending on how complex it is, yeah. So I'm just going to leave it for 16 right now. Then it also has content warnings like nudity, blood, gore, which I believe, I guess they allowed. I never needed to check those things. And then you can put some tags in here, saying, okay, boring office ceiling world or whatever, dance room or dance or, some basic stuff, so you can search for tags and get there. But I'm not going to bother with that. That's just it. Okay. And then there's a little checkbox saying, okay, are you allowed to do this? Blah, 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 blah. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to publish this. I think after this is over, I'll go into VRChat and hang out in it, and people can come join me if they would like, but I'm not going to make this a public world. All right, so you can leave it as unpublished, and you can still work on it, and once you feel comfortable that it's ready, the next time you configure, if you check that box, it will go into community labs, and other people can see it and join it publicly. Technically, though, under community labs, it's not officially published yet. It's a kind of like a weird like a gray area that allows people to use it, but it doesn't also guarantee that it will be officially uploaded to VRChat. I don't know. Everything that I made, even just junk, has been published eventually, so you don't have to worry about it. It will stay in community labs for who knows. There's no rhyme or reason to it. But once you publish it and you send the link out, people definitely can get to it. All right, so we're going to do that, and we just do upload. All right, so now it's going to create a record and optimize the file. Now, there's an interesting thing. I'm not gonna. It's another in-depth thing, but there's these record keys. These it's like a unique identifier type of code for the world, and you can copy these codes. So say you made a world called ABC, and then you made a file, and ABC sucked, and you still want to use that name, but you want to make a new world for ABC. You can go and make another Unity file called XYZ, but if you take the identifier code for the ABC world and attach it to the Unity file for the XYZ world, you can run the upload and replace the world with something completely different, but still have the same name and the same everything, and it's just basically making a new version of the world if you just wanted to start from scratch or just make a new version of it or something like that. So you can even do that with avatars and stuff, and that's a whole nother ball of wax when it comes to avatars. But There's definitely ways you can change codes and keys and things like that, and swap worlds and names and everything. Okay, look at that. Content is successfully uploaded. Your private world can now be in the mine worlds and menu. All right, so off the camera real quick, I'm gonna, on my other screen, I'm gonna open up a VRChat and go over to it, and we'll check it out. All right, let me go to VRC worlds, my worlds, demo world. Okay, launch. Okay, launch world. No. One second. Login. All right. Worlds, my worlds, demo world, launch world, open launch. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We're gonna see the world. Yes, I'll make an entire shopping mall before I make an avatar. Avatars are a nightmare. I look at those things and I'm like, oh my god. So to people out there that make avatars, my hat's off to them. They are they're magic workers. I could not make an avatar if my life depended on it. I'll totally make worlds. I love making worlds. Okay, now it's gonna go. I can find my mouse. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. We are walking around the office party room. Look at this. Did I make that a real-time light? Oh, there's no shadow. Okay, see, there's no shadow on this light because I made it a baked light. So shadows will only show up with real-time lights. But there it is. There's the world. All right, so if you want to see the respawn plane, it's already there default. We never even touched that. But if I walk out the door, fall out into the middle of nothing, boom, look, we're right back. So there it is. That's the basics of creating a world. So ProBuilder and ProGrids are your best friends, and you can make whatever you'd like. And you make the textures, and that's it. That's how you do it. Let me see here. Does anybody have any questions? You want to go? Anything you want me to go over again? Oh yeah, we'll just start off from the top. All right, we'll start with a cube. All right, guys, want to make a cube? Actually, you know what? If you want to stick in for like another 10 minutes, I'll show you the very important thing: the mirror. You want to make a mirror with a button to turn the mirror on and off, right? That's the most important thing. If you want to check that out. All right, it's gonna exit this. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. I'm getting a bunch of yeses for the mirror. All right, we'll show you how to make a mirror. First, let's change this light to a real-time light so we can check out the crazy shadows. I bet you that's... oh, no, it's real-time. Maybe... Why is that not doing that? It's a real-time light. Oh, okay. You see here? Shadow type. No shadows. We want to see shadows. There we go. But you see now that we do shadows, the light's gone because technically the light's in the ceiling. and I'm dragging it in the wrong direction. I've got to get this down, 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 down. There we go. See? See, with no shadows, you can get away with shoving lights through walls and things because it doesn't really care. But with this, you need to have it. All right, so we're going to have a real-time light to play with. We can do shadow puppets and play with a mirror. This is the best world in the world. That's it. What else do you want? I mean, come on. This is the best world. You can do shadow puppets and look at yourself in the mirror. All right, let me just tip this up, and we'll make this a little bigger. There we go. All right, let's make a mirror right here. Okay, so now, under Assets in the VRChat example folder and in the prefabs folder, we have a thing called VRC Mirror. And it's made for VRC, and you just drag it and drop it in. All right. There it is, and it's a plane, so it's just, there's no depth to it, but if you can see, there's a mirror there. You can drag it, and you can see the door. It's pretty cool looking. But the problem is you don't want the mirror on all the time, and also you have to resize the mirror. So let's get this against the wall. Rotation on the y-axis, do 90 degrees. Oh, it's the wrong way. All right, so do negative 90 degrees. And there we go. All right. And we want to drag this up against the wall. Like that. All right. Let's just, now we'll scale it a little bit. This you can get away with scaling because it doesn't matter. And there's no way to change the size using ProBuilder. So we'll just, oop, no, we don't want that. We want to go that way. Okay. And make it a little taller like that. Okay, it's in the floor, so it's going to drag it up a little bit. There we go. So we got this. Oh, it's too big. It's going into the ceiling. All right. Okay, there we go. That's a moderately sized mirror. Very nice. Okay. Now you can't. I mean, you can leave the mirror on, but I mean, it's somebody's computer is not up to snuff, and you know, it's just not fair to them to have them render a mirror against their will. We want to make sure we can have this turned on and off. So we're going to make a button. Now a button can be any object or something. So I'm just going to do, where'd that window go? Where's my ProBuilder window? It's gone. ProBuilder window. Oh, sometimes it gets buried in there. Okay. So we're going to do new shape, and it's going to make us a cube. All the way out here for some reason, unknown reason. All right, let's squish this down to some reasonable size. We'll do like a eighth or whatever that is. I don't even know. There we go, and we'll squish it this way. That looks like a button, right? Let's put it on the column here. No. See, I have the face selected. I need object selection. And this also too, sometimes when you squish the shape to something, the reference point is where the corner of the cube used to be, so you'll end up getting this tool like out in the middle of nowhere sometimes. It's no big deal. It's just kind of a weird little thing it does. All right, so we'll get this on the face of the column here, like that. All right, that looks cool. Let's make it gold. Oh, that's right. I forgot to show you reflection probes and light probes, because that's very important. Oh my God. It's a good thing we did this mirror thing, guys. This is perfect. Okay, let's do the scene. No, I'm doing images. Gold. There we go. We're going to take that. Boom. Gold button. Now, remember I was saying like the gold doesn't really look like gold? That's because we don't have a reflection probe in the world. Now, what a reflection probe does, if you ever see anybody with shiny avatars, especially the pool toy avatars, they heavily rely on reflection probes, and also light probes are important too. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get this mirror sorted, and then we'll get to the reflection probes. Okay, so we got the button. Now we need to tell the button, okay, we need to make you sure to turn this mirror off. All right, and we'll get this ProBuilder window out of the way. Click on the cube. There's the button. Now here, this is the cube. This is all the information about the cube, the size, blah, 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 the material. You can add components to items, so they can add different things. We want it to do something or whatever. So we're going to add we want this to be a button or a trigger. So we add component. Now you have to use the stuff that works with VRChat. So we're going to have to use the components that come with the SDK. So we're going to do VRC. So this is all the VRChat components. These are the things you can do. You can do visual damage and trigger relays and health. There's a lot of neat things you can do with VRChat, like combat systems, event handlers. But most of the stuff that I like to use is just the trigger to make buttons. So there it is. So VR trigger. So now that's telling this cube to be a button. All right, now you can see here the VRC trigger script. It's custom right now. We want this to be when someone interacts with this cube, so interacting with it like a button. So we have to do the VRC trigger script. Go here to custom and go on interact. So we want it when the person interacts with it. All right, and just click add. All right, so now we have this on interact configuration. Now we want to make sure that there's these different ways, because if you go to a VRChat world, sometimes you can see things and other people don't see it, and if it's local or global, and it's all based on this. So always it's always master or local or all this other stuff. So we want to make sure that this button is local to the person and not everyone. So if you hit the button, it doesn't shut the mirror off with everyone. I actually made that mistake the other night when I made the Science on a Sphere world. I had the button set to master, and so when someone didn't want the mirror, they turned it off and everybody couldn't see the mirror. So that's going to be, we have to make sure that it's set to local. So it's only for the person then clicking it on and off. So that's when you walk into a world and you see everyone staring at a wall because they all have the mirror turned on. All right. So, and in here you can, what it will say when you put your hand near it. So it'll say this is mirror, you know, and the proximity, you can just leave that. So now we want to link the button to the mirror. So the action is what we want the mirror. So if we click add here, basic events, we want it to, where is it? To set game object active. So these are game objects. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could tell it to turn a column on and off if you wanted to. We need to tell it to set a game object active. So the game object that we want to set active is the mirror. So if you click on game set object active, now it's looking for a receiver. So basically it's just telling you what object do you want? What is the receiver of this object? So in here you hit the start, and you can go in and click it here, and this little watch looking thing, and we're going to go look for the mirror. So there's the mirror. All right, so now if you notice, now we have this little stick, this little line pointing from the button to the mirror. Now we need to tell it, this button, how is this going to function? False, true, or toggle. We want this to be like a toggle, like a switch. So we have to set this to toggle. So there we go. So now we have this, the trigger script. It's when someone interacts with it, it's local to them, and it's going to say mirror, and the action is to set the game object active, and that object is the receiver, the mirror. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now the important thing is to make sure we don't want this mirror on. Now it sounds kind of crazy, but we did all this work. You want to go to the hierarchy and go to the mirror up here and uncheck the mirror up here in this right hand corner. This is the make objects active and inactive. And you can use this sometime when you're working on something and you don't want to see it, but you know you made it. You can just shut it off and get it out of the way or something like that. It just technically turns things on and off in the world. They're still technically there, but you just can't see them. So we want to turn the mirror off. So when we upload the world, the mirror is not going to be there, but when you go over to that button, it's going to say make game object active, and it's going to turn the mirror on. All right, so we're going to save that. Okay, so now we have the mirror. Now and that's all set. That's how you make a mirror turn on and off. So let's get to this reflection probe stuff. This is not going to take that long. All right, so under lights, now we also need, so we have to have the lighting, what's going to be baked, what's going to be real time, but we also need reflection probes and light probes. Let's go over reflection probes. Now reflection probes are basically, it's this ball that, I mean, you don't see this isn't, you know, visible in the world, but it basically is telling what is going to be reflected, like this room, this way this room looks. And if something's shiny in this room, it's going to reflect the walls and the floor and the rug and all this other stuff. So we have to designate this area, this space. So if anything's in here, it's reflecting this room. So if you can see, there's this box here. And if you go over to the reflection probe, there's this little like bent thing with the dots on it. You click this, and this is going to adjust the boundaries of the reflection probe. So you click the dots and then drag them just enough, just a little bit, just, you know, right on the edge, right there. Just like, because if you're outside, you don't want to be reflecting the inside of the room. You want to tell it, okay, this is the inside of this room. Don't reflect if you're outside of this box. And also with multiple reflection probes, they can overlap too. So if you want to be very accurate with a room, say you want, if there's a blue, if you know, there's a completely different room on the other side, you can do 2 reflection probes and kind of have them merge a little bit in the middle, so they will blend. You can blend reflection probes. You can get really, really in depth with this stuff. All right, so there we go. So now we have the boundary set, so everything in this room, in this box, will reflect. So we click on the probe. Now this is really cool. It's almost like baking lights, but it's called baking the reflection probe. Let me see if I can click on it. Reflection probe. Okay. And if you bake this, what it's going to do is it's going to take a 360-degree photo of the room. It's really cool. Watch. There we go. Now, I mean, you won't see this chrome sphere in the world. It's just, this is giving you an idea of what the reflection is. So that's how reflections work. When you're in a VRChat world and you're walking through the world and you know someone has something shiny or metal or they're a pull toy or something, and you can see the reflection of the world, it's all based on this image, this 360 image that's been generated. And the more reflection probes you have in the world placed throughout the world, the more accurate the reflection is going to be. So now, if something's shiny, it's going to show up shiny in this room. So when we do this lights, like especially like this gold, now the gold is going to look like, you'll see it when we generate the lights. Watch. All right. So the last thing to do with lighting is the light probes. And let me see. Go light, and a light probe group. Okay, now these are a bit of a pain in the ass, but you have to do them to get the world to look really good, because this actually, it helps light the characters in the world. People walking in the world need this, because if you don't have this, the lighting's going to be kind of weird. Come on, what'd I do? There we go. Now, the same thing, these spheres, you just want to get them just close to the floor. So what these spheres are doing is you have to cover the room with these things, and I'll show you in a minute how to cover them in the room. But what the function is, like say, you see how we have these 3 colors, and it's green on this side, and it's red over here, and it's white over here. These reflection probes, after they bake the lighting, will gauge the color of the light in this area of the room. So it will understand that here is green light. So when your avatar walks over here, even though the light is baked, like we bake the lights, they don't actually exist. But with the reflection, with the light probes, it's going to look as if the light is making people show up those colors, because it's already calculated what to overlay on top of the avatars. It's mind-blowing stuff, like especially when I'm not a game developer. So when I'm finding these things out, I'm like, oh my god, like how does it do this? So even with the baked lights, and again, this is with optimization, it will still look like there's actual lights in the room. So we'll go ahead and we'll start adding some of these light probes. So you get I generally like to get the group in the middle of the room or close to it, and then click on the yellow sphere. So that will start enabling this sphere. And it's the same like how we duplicated the columns with Control D and duplicating. We're going to do that with the spheres, but just more on a grandiose scale, which again will get kind of annoying. You'll see it. So what I can do is I need to select these 4 squares. If you just click over here on left click and then drag, it kind of like if you picture like a box, going over it, you can select multiple spheres, or you can click, shift click on each sphere, but I like to click and drag, it's quicker. And we're going to just drag this to the corner of the room like that, just onto the edge like that. And we'll do the same thing here. Just click and drag, get all these on this side, drag them this direction. All right. And now we need to get them the other way. So if you back out, actually isometric view is really helpful like that. So let's go like that. So now if we just click and drag, we're actually getting, you can see this one and this one because they're lined up with each other. Even though it looks like there's 2 here, you're actually getting this side. So isometric mode is really helpful when you're laying out the light probes like that. Get those in there. Now we need to get those on to the ceiling, so we'll just do this. And boom. So once you get these in the corner, then we're going to start copying things. So I want to get like 1, 2, 3, like, you'll see. So we have the top ones selected. So we go Control D, and now we can drag down. All right, Control D, drag down. That's good enough. Now we have to go the other direction. So now we see, boom, 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 boom. We have all these here. And then just do drag, get all those, and then Control D. They also make tools. I haven't used them. I like having a little bit more control this way. That automatically will generate the light probes in the... I don't know. I just do it this way. I'm so used to doing it like this. And it's Control D, Control D, Control D. It's like copying the columns. The same thing. Control D, Control D, Control D, and we just keep going. I mean, you don't have to be too precise with it. Like, if that's a little bigger, it doesn't matter. All right, now we go back to this view. Again, we only have this, but now if we just drag and select all those, I can't see it. Let me scroll in a little bit with the mouse here. Okay, they're selected. Let me just go back to that view. Okay, just Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, and yada, yada, yada. So now when we go back, we're going to have a mess of freaking light probes in here. Oh my God, look at this mess. It's see, this is why I was saying light probes are a pain in the ass, but you kind of have to do them. But once you click off, they're fine. You don't, they're invisible. But when you're working with them, it gets kind of out of control. All right, so now all we have to do is bake our light one more time, because now we have this. We have the spotlight set to real time. So with shadows, let me double check that. Real time, hard shadows. We got our mirror with the switch that's shut off. And oh, actually, you know what? Just because I made this gold, if you notice, I just remembered it's not static. If I don't click this to static, it's going to affect the lighting, and we know this isn't going to move. So again, everything here is not going to move. So I'm just going to do Control A and just click static, make everything static, so we're safe here. Nothing's being moved. Nothing's getting picked up. All right, so we got the mirror, we got the button, we got the real-time lightings, we got the reflection probe, and we got the light probes. We'll bake the lights. Here we go. that's it. All right. Now this gold, remember I was saying, oh, you can kind of see the lights in it, but that's just not shiny enough. Let's crank this up a little bit. Look at that. The smoothness. Now that looks like gold. And if you see, there's the ceiling. Now that ceiling is the reflection probe, that image from the reflection probe. It's saying, okay, this is a reflective surface, put that on it. And the same thing up there. You can see the walls, you can see the columns and the reflection of the gold. And it's all based on that reflection probe. There we go. All right, now let's upload it and we'll check it out and we'll see if that mirror works and the real-time light. So we're going to go back to the VRChat SDK control panel. Go to demo, go to the builder, and build and publish for Windows. Actually, let me save this first. Save and save scene. Okay, let's go back here. Because sometimes sometimes it will crash on the VRChat upload, and for no reason. Everything is totally fine, and it'll get a hiccup, and so always save before you upload. All right. And I still have 69 people. Nice. 69. Nice. Oh, the picture. All right. If you want to stick, let's check out. We'll check out the mirror and the lights. I won't do another upload. We don't have to do another upload, but I'll show you after this is done, and I'll pop back in and I'll show you how to add a picture to the world. Oh yeah, audio too. If you want to add audio, yeah. I mean, I don't want to keep you guys. I mean, I don't care. I'm having fun with this but we're already almost three hours into this, and I really appreciate everyone that's been here tonight, watching this, because it's a slog of to sit here and listen to me ramble about this stuff for 3 hours. But I really appreciate everyone sticking through this. All right. Configure world. Okay. Yes. Upload. Optimizing files. Oh, it's so nice when the world's only 11 megabytes. The shopping mall, I think, is 380. And what's really funny is when you're uploading a world that has audio in it, when this little configure world window pops up, it starts playing the music. And I got so sick of listening to Toto Africa, because the thing takes about... Oh my god, it takes about 10 minutes to upload every time I want to make a change. And I have to sit there and listen to the Toto Africa music every time I do an upload. The lighting probes, it's all relative. You don't want to go too overboard because it'll actually impact performance, but generally, I like to keep one light probe group. Oh, is it? Did you say reflection probes? Oh, yeah. Basically, I like to do one reflection probe and one light probe group per room, and then so if there's another room, I'll do another reflection probe for like a hallway or something like that. Okay, so that's uploaded. Let's go check it out. My worlds. We're going to launch world. All right, let's see what this does. Now we should have the mirror and the shadows. And if I had a shiny avatar, I could show you the because there's a mirror now. Maybe no, I don't think I have any shiny avatars. All right, let's go over to that mirror. I mean, to that light. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that cat shape. It's perfect. All right, let's go check out that mirror. I'm so short. Mirror. Boom. Look at that. I am not shiny, so I can't show you the reflection probes. But look at that gold. Look at that gold. That works. But that's it. That's the mirror. So you can click that on and off, and it's local, so no one's gonna see it. So when they see you, when they come into the world, you'll be just staring at the wall, talking to yourself, and that is it. All right, let's go back and we'll do the pictures. So we can put a picture in there. A picture is you don't need ProBuilder or anything. I use the standard the object game objects in Unity to make a picture. So, and also a picture could be anything. It could be, you could use that to make a rug on the floor or something. It could be anything. Let me just get a image here. Movies, media. 1 second here. Looking for a. Come on. Oh, there we go. All right. So we'll go back to the assets. We'll go in my images folder. We're just gonna drag and drop a picture in here. Boom. Yours truly. All right. So now we want to make a picture. So basically, we don't need to generate a cube or because you can technically, you know, stick this on to something and make it a picture. But to get the picture on there, we also need to treat this like a material. So you have to go to create, right click in assets, create, and go to material. And I'm just gonna call this me. Get that out of the way. All right, and the albedo, it's basically like a texture. You just take it, drop it in here, so we have a texture. Oof, what's going on there? All right, we'll take the smoothness down. We don't need a shiny picture of me. Okay, and we're gonna go make a game object up here. Game object. It's kind of like, you know, you can make cubes and things. And we're gonna go to game object, 3D object, and we're going to create a plane. Now, plane is just basically just a face. It's not a cube. It's not anything. It's just got just a surface. And there it is. And you see already, like, the colors, the blue. It's basically white. If you go out here, you see, and we bring it in, and we're already in this cool blue area. And it's massive. They're always massive. We're gonna have to scale it down a little bit. So we got the plane, we got the texture. You basically take that and you drag it on, and bam, look at that. We got some weird craziness going on. We're gonna go back to object, select the object, and we're gonna just rotation. We're gonna do a 90 degree, so it's up on the wall. It's facing the right way. Rotate on the y-axis. Let's do 90. Now let's put it on the other wall. Let's do -90. There it is. Now this, I with the planes, and especially when it comes to pictures, I scale these. So if you do R, type R, so you get the scale tool instead of the drag tool, and just drag it down to a shape that's manageable. Go back to W for the drag. Get it there. Drag it over. And drag it against the wall. Now these spheres are popping up because we generated the light probes, and they get in the way sometimes. If you're working and it's just like, I want to see what I'm doing. I always turn these off. If you go up to gizmos, it's basically the reference things. So like you see these blue squares and stuff, and they just get in the way. So if you go to gizmos, and if you scroll down, you'll see the light probe group here in the little checkbox. You uncheck that, and it takes that away. And also these grids, like I don't want these grids. It's just telling you that you made it with ProBuilder. I can just go none and click it off. So now, what? Whatever. But so there we go. And then we can take this and just drag it ever so slightly. Against the wall. See, you don't want it like this. You just got to get it just enough like that. And the same thing, you want to make sure that you set these to static, so when you generate the lights, that the shadows and stuff. And it's say if you don't want it to be actually like dark in the world, and you want it to like be nice and bright so everyone can see it, if you go back to the texture, you can make pictures emissions. So this is really cool. You can make this for photos, or if you want to make like a light up sign or something, you just take the emission layer where, remember we were doing the color. You can just take the photo again and drop it into the color, and now the whole thing lights up. So it's nice and bright. And yeah, that's how you make a photo on the wall. And if you want to get fancy, you can, if you do like a cube, like the same thing how we made these columns with these bevels, you can make a cube and like make like a frame, and then take one of the faces and then put the picture in it, like a picture frame and stuff like that if you wanted to do that. So it's really cool. With ProBuilder, you can make, you know, picture frames real easy and things like that. But let me see. Oh God, what is going on here? Oh God, what is going on here? Oh God, that was weird. Yeah. So I think that's it. I mean, there's other things like objects and assets and things like where you, if you want chairs and tables, I mean, you can make tables and things in ProBuilder, but it still gets a little more. It's a whole another thing. But yeah, after you build a wall, oh look at that, I missed the texture right there. Oh, that's right, because remember I said we don't need to put the gold against the molding. No one's gonna see it. Well, there it is. Because I copied it and I dragged it across the floor. But yeah, and there's a lot of things too. Like there's prefabs and it keeps going. But like if there's these tabs up here for the games and stuff. If you go to Asset Store, this actually links you into Unity, everything that's made for Unity, and there's a lot of cool free stuff in here that if you wanted to use. So say like we want a chair to put in the world. You can just search for chair, and if you go down to free, and there's free assets, and look at that, we have a whole package of couches and refrigerators. Oh, that's not free though. This is free. For this armchair. Oh, look at this really boring table. Oh, the folding table. I've already used the folding table in my Yugo dealership. You know what? Let's add a folding table. Why not? This world, man. We're gonna. This is a real party world. Let me tell you. Oh, you know what? I'll show you how to make. If you guys want to still hang around, I know we're 3 hours in, and I really appreciate you guys sticking around. If you want to see how to do pick up items, you want to be able to pick this table up in a chair and throw it around a room. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, let's import this. So for the Unity Asset Store, we've got the folding table and the chair. I'm going to import that. That's all you got to do. And bam, it's got this thing, import Unity package. It's asking, well, do you want everything? Yes, we want everything. So we just do import. It's going to do its thing. All right. Now, if you go back to the Scene tab, and let's see here. If you go back to Assets, you should see something right here. Devoted, I guess. Yeah, there it is. Folding table and chairs. Now, with objects, there's no standardization. It's all dependent on who made it and how they handled the materials, and it's never really drag and drop. You always kind of gotta poke around with it. But generally, though, if you find objects in the asset store through Unity, you're going to be in good shape. But if you go outside of that, it gets kind of sketchy, and you're going to have to fiddle with things to get them to work. So here we go. We have a folding table and chair. And now, again, if you want to get this into the world, simply click this and drag it in. And there we have it. There it is. Now, with objects, they become, they're called prefabs, and they're bundled together. And if you want to edit these things individually, you're going to have to unpack the prefab. So if you notice, all these cubes are white. This one's blue because this is a prefab, like a package. If you open this up, you can see we have the chair and the table. Now we want to mess with both of these. We want to separate these two. So if you go here and right click on the folding table and chair, and you can just do unpack prefab. So now they're their own things. This is also a good demonstration of organizing your work too. So say when you're building the world and you want to just keep things nice and clean, like the columns. If you do right click in the hierarchy tab, you can do create empty. So it's an empty object. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like a folder almost, but just in the world it keeps things organized. So we can say the columns, to say green, marble things. All right, and then you can just take all the columns, because if you don't want to see, you're done with the columns. You don't want to see all that stuff hanging out in there. You can just take those, highlight them, and then drag them to marble things. So now under marble things, you got all the columns, and then you can just close it, and it keeps things nice and neat, especially when you're working. And if you have you can keep making more and more of these and get really granular, and especially if you're working with multiple rooms, and you say, okay, this is everything in this entire room goes under this, and so you can do a lot of neat things organizational wise that way. But let's get back to this folding table and chair. So now let's say we don't want this to be static because these things are going to be moving around. All right, let's move the chair away from the table. Let's say we'll just put the chair. Now that's also nice too. So if you have two items and you want to rotate them, rotate the items because they're under this the parent. You can just rotate these. No, what am I doing? Where is it? You can rotate the two things together because they're under that. But if you click the chair and the table, then they would rotate by themselves. All right, we're just going to leave that there. Okay. Now, if you want to make a pickup object in the world, the same thing, like how we added the VRChat, the add-on to the button over here, we have to do the same thing for these items, and we have to make sure that they're not static because they're going to be moving around, and we don't want shadows being generated under these tables and the chair and stuff like that. So let's get this table. So we go to add component, and we're going to do VRC _ pickup, and this is the script that will tell VRChat that the user can pick this item up. All right, and there it is. Disallow theft. You don't really have to touch any of that stuff. Orientation, I mean, if you wanted to pick it up and have it straight up and down the entire time or whatever like that, it's fine. So now they can pick this up. Where we got this? Materials, mesh. No, that should be fine. That should be all right. Okay, so we have the script. Now you should be able to pick it up, but the problem is no one else can see you pick it up. The object is local to your view. So to them, the table has not moved, and you're just whipping your arm around and laughing, and they don't know why. We need to make it so that the object is synced in the room for everyone to see. So not only that you have to add the pickup script, we're going to have to add an object sync script. So we go to VRC and object sync. So there we go. We have object sync script, and that's it. That's all you have to do with that. I think. I haven't made a pickup object in a while. We'll see if this works. All right, we'll do the same for the chair. Add component. We can just. I like doing the object pickup script first. VRC pickup. Okay. Yeah, use. Add component. VRC sync. Object sync. All right. There we go. Let's save it. And we'll see if that works. I'm going to leave the console open here, make sure there's nothing weird showing up. And you get these warnings too. Sometimes it's just, you know, you don't have to, especially this trigger cube not initialized. If you see these, don't worry about it, because basically it's starting the world and it's saying that the button is not initialized. It's fine. Like if you see those, it's not a big deal. It's whatever. It's going to clear those. All right, let's go back and we'll update and build and publish for Windows. Let's see here. All right. And I think once this is done and we make sure we can throw a table and a chair, I think we have accomplished the most important things in VRChat. And you can look at yourself in a mirror and you can throw stuff. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, video players. Yeah, that's a little bit more involved. Video players are, they're packages basically. They're like, people will make these scripts and things, and yeah, I still have trouble with video players. They're kind of hit or miss for me. Like it's hard to find a good one. Yeah, basically it's you get a package and an asset, like a prefab video player, and you dump it in the world and you hope for the best, and then you got to end up, you know, tweak it and all sorts of stuff. So all right. Yeah, again, like this whole thing, like I started doing this in April, and or, you know, late March, early April, and I never even thought that I could do stuff like this, because it was just so out there. I was like, I'm not a 3D designer, I'm not a programmer, I don't know what this stuff is, you know. But if you just break it down, yeah, it does look scary. There's a lot of stuff going on, but once you make like one or two worlds, this kind of all falls together, and then it's really fun, because whatever you can think of, there's a way to do it in Unity, and that's such a cool thing to do. Upload, and because for years and years and years, I mean, even since I was a little kid, you know, I was always thinking, probably other people have thought of this too, like we were always thinking, oh man, it would be cool if there was a video game about this, or it was cool if there was a video game where you can go here, and you know, so like I was always thinking about stuff like that, and like it's just strange, because now it's like if you want something crazy, you can totally make it, and 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 everyone can go there and check it out. It's such a cool thing. Like VRChat just hands you the keys and it goes, here, make whatever you want, you know. And that's what's really cool with VRChat, because it feels like the early days of the internet, where everything was just like, just go for it and do it, because it doesn't matter. But sadly, I mean, I can see them cracking down on a lot of stuff in the future, because even now I just saw recently that Disney has like some type of online marketplace store or something, and I could see some huge complications with that, especially when it comes to like, because everything is so open-ended. I mean, you could go in there with a giant like crazy like rubber dragon dude or something and dance in front of the Disney store, and I don't think that would be a great idea, you know. So like it's a really really strange thing that we're at right now. So all right, so that's uploaded. We're gonna go for one more trip in there and check it out. My worlds, demo world, launch world. All right, let's see if we can pick up this table and this chair. We can do a freaking table flip in front of the mirror. All right, let's see here. Oh no. Where'd my table go? Did it fall? Why didn't it spawn? That is weird. All right. Now, this is an interesting aspect. Sometimes you make a change and you upload to VRChat and it looks like nothing happened because nothing was uploaded. Even though it looks like it uploaded, nothing was uploaded because there might be a problem. And you might think, oh, it's invisible or I can't see it or anything. No, what happens is the upload didn't happen and you're still looking at the old version that is sitting in VRChat even though it says it uploaded. So this will make you pull your hair out sometimes. So if we look in the logs, we can see something didn't go right. That is interesting. Oh, see here. Is that the? Oh, that's that. That's nothing. That's nothing. Why didn't that change? Interesting. Blend probes, anchor override. Huh. Mesh, rigid body, force. I don't know. That's weird. I have to poke around with that. Oh well. That's really weird. That's the joys of VRChat and Unity, because something you think makes total sense doesn't make sense after a while. But I don't know. Collider on the chair. Yeah, there should be. Actually, you know what? Good question. That is a yes. I was looking at. You know what? I was looking at the mesh renderer in the rigid body, and I don't see that. So yes, that might be it. Yes. Thank you. Deluge? Is that how you say deluge? Yes, there is also sometimes things like, well, with ProBuilder, everything has a collider on it. So basically you make a cube and you can't walk through it, or you make the walls, you can't walk through it. Everything in there has a collider. If something doesn't have a collider, you need to add one. So like this table and chairs don't have a collider. So we can go here and add another component to the table and chairs. And we're just going to type box collider. There we go. Boom. So now you see this little green square. That means that you can't walk through that table now. It's an actual physical object. And it will help with, because you need box colliders for pickup items. You can't have because basically it would be like invisible. Like you could see it, but it's physically not there. You need to have a box collider if it doesn't come with one. And that's what it appears like. The chair and everything does not have a box collider. So good catch. Good catch. So we added box colliders. So now they have box colliders. They have the pickup script and the object sync script. We'll save it and upload it one more time. And I promise this is the last time, and we'll be done. And I'll go in the world. We can go in the world, and we can hang out and rejoice in this pointless world that you can fall out into oblivion in. And also, you can test respawn. Okay, let's clear that. And we got the box collider and the box collider, and it's saved. And we're gonna upload one more time. I mean, you can do build and test, but I'm stubborn. I think everything is going to be perfect, and it's going to work the first time. Yep, that's exactly what happened. That is funny, because I remember I did that the first time I ran into that was I was making my Coopertom talk show world, and I was adding box collider. I was adding objects to pick up that were upstairs, and they didn't have box colliders, and they were just falling through the floor and respawning. So I made this whole world, and all of a sudden there's like this ball of yarn that's just constantly falling in front of the camera, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was because there was no box collider on it. And there was nothing telling it that it was a physical object. And also that's cool too with box colliders, especially when you're making everything in ProBuilder and everything comes with a collider. If you want to make like a secret door or like a secret space that you can walk through the wall, you can just make that section and take out the box collider, and it'll still look the same. It'll look totally fine, but you can just zip right through it. I actually did this in the I added it later on in the Four Seasons world, because everyone was trying to get into the landscaping building, and I originally was, I was more concerned about the outside of it, and everyone was like, oh, can you get in? And I didn't really tell anyone, but I took the collider off the garage door, so if you walk over to the garage door, you can actually go inside the building now. There's nothing in there really to look at, but if you want to go in, you can go in now. So mesh colliders unreliable. Maybe on new versions, I don't know, because I when I first learned how to do the pickup objects, it was like that was just one of the steps. It was like, okay, add a box collider, now add the pickup, and then add the object sync. Like, I don't know if there's any other way around that, unless like there's like, I mean, this is a way to do it, but if there's a better way to do it, I have no idea. I mean, everything I've been doing has been box colliders. Okay. Manage world. Okay, there we go. And we are already on version 4 of Demo World. All right. Let me go back. We'll try this again, and we'll be good. I think we'll be good. That was definitely. I think that was the box colliders. Launch world. Come on, computer. Yeah, this computer that I'm using is now 10 years old. This is my old gaming PC from back in the day. Like my VR rig is in another room. This is my computer in my bedroom, so it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it gets the job done, especially when it comes to this stuff. There it is. That was it. That was the box collider. Good catch. Good catch. All right. Ultimate test. Can we do a table flip? Yes, we can. Oh, look at that. It's like Flip Cup. That is great. frig, that is perfect. That is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's exactly what we wanted. That is exactly what we wanted. Awesome. So, yeah. Awesome. Cool. Again, I want to thank everyone that really stuck in there. I mean, 3 hours is a lot. I feel bad for tying up everyone's time for 3 hours. But if if something you wanted to, really stick out and try to do, I would too. I'd hang out and figure this out, because this is basically what I've learned in the months that I've figured this out, and this is what works for me. And I think this is a really good starting point for anybody that wants to make this and make a world for themselves. So yeah, I'm super happy everybody stuck in there, and I'm really excited to see what everyone makes with this information. Make some crazy worlds, man. That's what it's about. So thank you so much. And I'm actually going to sign on to VRChat. I'm going to pop in this world, and if you want to come in, if you have any questions or anything like that, and you want to talk to me in VRChat about it, I'm gonna be in there. So yeah. So thank you so much, and have a good night. How do I get it? How do you turn this off? The red light still blinking. I feel like my parents. I gotta get out of this thing. Oh God.